Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So, we have definitely a bit of an important, maybe a little bit of a heavier topic to discuss today. But I'll tell you, as Kieran and I were doing the research for this article, we had a lot of jokes. We had some fun with it. And so I don't intend to be too serious on this stream if I'm honest about it, because I think when you're looking at things that might be disturbing, you like mockery sometimes is the best policy. And so far as I'm concerned, the people that we are going to be discussing today are frankly no different than the woke left. They just have a different agenda. And one of my policies is that we always mock the woke left. And so I'm going to take the same policy here. So, for those of you who don't know, maybe you ended up here accidentally, today we are gathered here to discuss this article that I and Kieran White published this morning. This is a project that we have been working on really kind of intensively for the past couple weeks. I mean, like, I cannot even tell you guys how much work went into producing this article because it was actually really crazy. And so what we're going to be talking about is that we believe that the inevitable backlash to the anti-critical race, or excuse me, the inevitable backlash to critical race theory is here. And we also believe that inevitable it's gonna be one of those days. Inevitable backlash is trying to co-opt the anti-CRT movement. Now, listen, I want to say this clearly up front, and I'll talk more about Kieran in a second if you guys haven't heard his name before. But Kieran and I very strongly believe that everyone should be able to believe what they want, as long as you're not hurting other people or stealing their stuff. We believe that everyone should be able to believe what they want. However, we are very concerned that the people that we discuss in this article are trying to co-opt the anti-CRT movement, and they will make it toxic. The anti-CRT movement is something that is a little precarious already as it is. It's not as organized as I'd like to see it. It's not as focused as I'd like to see it. And it's one of those things where if you don't want to hand your enemy a win on a silver platter, you let shit like this go. So my concern in investigating this topic is purely because I want to see the anti-CRT movement be successful. The anti-CRT movement needs to be successful. And with these people involved, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot harder. The other reason I want to talk about this is because of how these people are inserting themselves into the movement and how they are, frankly, not being open and honest and direct about who they are until it's too late. So, what we're going to do in this stream is we are basically going to review this entire article. We are going to watch all the clips in this article. We're going to give a good overview, and I want to make sure to answer your questions as best I can. Now, you will notice that I'm by myself today. This wasn't actually the original plan for doing the stream about this article. Kieran and I were going to do the stream together. Kieran White is the journalist out of the UK that I worked with on this article. Sadly, Kieran is under the weather. He's not feeling well. So he is laying in bed. And we will be doing a stream together in the future. And I am holding down the fort for today, but I will do my very best to answer your questions. Kieran is actually much better at explaining some of this stuff than I am. But I will do my best to answer your questions. And, you guys will have some time to sit with this. I expect a response to this. To be really blunt, I expect some sort of response to this. And so Kieran and I will do a stream in the future. Now, if you don't know who Kieran is, he is a multimedia journalist out of the UK. He has his own locals. And guys, if you appreciate the work that he and I have done in this article, please join our locals communities. You don't have to join as a paid member. You can join his locals at kieranwhite.locals.com. The link is down there somewhere. But if you want to become a paid member in his locals, then you can do kieranwhite.locals.com/support and join for $5 a month. He actually has some exclusive content in his locals. He's going to be going much more in depth into the more extremist nature of this sort of stuff. So if you really are interested in crazy content, Kieran's Locals is going to be perfect for you, because he has actually been one of the reasons that I worked with him on this piece is he has actually been monitoring these groups for like 2 years. And so he had a lot of information and was able to confirm some things that I thought were true, but I didn't have direct evidence for. And then we kind of researched the stuff in this piece together. Of course, you can join my locals as well, kb.locals.com. You can always join for free to lurk in the community. But if you want to support the work we're doing, $5 a month, or I have the annual option on mine. He doesn't. Yep, that's okay. For $50 a year, or you can make a one-time gift. And that really helps us out because, contrary to what the people we are going to discuss would tell you, we are actually completely funded by you guys. And that gives us the ability to do actual journalism and not fake journalism, like a lot of journalists tend to do. All right, guys, I'm going to need you guys to mount that like button because we already have the people that are described in this article giving it the thumbs down. So if you want to counteract all the little trolly trolls, mount that like button for me. Now, we might be doing call-ins later. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm not positive I'm going to do call-ins. Call-ins is when I give people in the chat the chance to come on my stream and have a conversation with me. But if anyone that we might be talking about in this article wants to call into the stream and have a conversation with me, if anyone that we may have clips of in this article wants to call in and have a conversation with me, if anyone is man enough to have a conversation with me directly, instead of just talking about me on obscure radio shows that he doesn't think I'll ever listen to, Jason, we might be doing call-ins later. So stick around. You might get your chance. All right, let's dig into it, guys. All right, basically what I want to do is I want to read the article and I want to go through some of the more salient points, and I'm going to be paying attention to the chat as I'm doing it, because I really want to make sure that your guys' questions are answered. We are also going to be listening to the clips I have in this article because it was very important to me in putting this together that I wanted to let these people, to be quite frank, speak for themselves. I wanted you to hear directly from them who they are because these people have such hubris. They will tell you exactly who they are. So we'll see. So the article is titled "The Backlash to Critical Race Theory is Here, and They're Trying to Co-opt the Anti-CRT Movement." Now, the main reason that we wrote this article is because we want people to share this information with any anti-CRT group they happen to be in. And I think one of the things that I've really appreciated about watching this article kind of make the rounds today is that I have seen it show up in a lot of anti-CRT groups, which means we are basically poisoning the well for these people in the anti-CRT groups, which was exactly the point. It was exactly the point. I don't know if journalists are actually going to do their job and do effing journalism around the issues that we've uncovered that they've ignored for years. But I do know that we have poisoned the well in the anti-CRT groups from these people to be able to recruit from them. And on that, I will take an epic win. That's really all I care about at the end of the day, is making sure the people that are involved in the anti-CRT movement understand what's going on. So please share this out with any anti-CRT group that you happen to be in. So let's start. When Daniel Kincannon released his letter of resignation from the school district in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I'll pull up his letter of resignation. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. It was that I covered it on this channel. It was that crazy letter of resignation, like a really unhinged letter of resignation. When he released his letter of resignation from the school district in Manchester, New Hampshire in June 2021, in which he slammed the district as anti-white in response to the school district mandating white privilege training, he was lauded all over conservative media for sticking it to the libs. Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Newsmax, and the blue check Twitterati influencers shared his story far and wide, which was exactly what he wanted, but not for the reason you might think. Now, I already saw some people in the chat earlier saying, if you're accusing Tucker Carlson of something, you better provide evidence. The fact of the matter is that conservative media has lifted these people up because they didn't know who they were. And they didn't know where the language that we're going to discuss in this article are coming from. Now, for those of you who might be just jumping into this, I've been talking about like how much I hate the phrase CRT is anti-white, the term anti-white. That is what I'm referring to specifically when I say the language. There's other phrases they use as well, but anti-white is the big one. Tucker Carlson has used the term anti-white. A lot of influencers have used the term anti-white. Blake Masters, running for Senate, I believe in Arizona, has used the term anti-white. And every single time that term is used, the people described in this article take a victory lap because it's all coming from them. So I don't need to have mountains of evidence to say that Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham were involved in this. They used the language because they didn't know where it was coming from. And I can excuse that to a certain point, but not when we have this. Not when we have this. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Daniel's goal is not to oppose critical race theory. Make no mistake, he doesn't like it. However, he sees it as one piece of a larger puzzle on white well being and white positivity, and is one of a small but active group of people who are proactively trying to corrupt the movement against critical race theory for their own purposes. Now, what do I mean when I say small? This guy's YouTube channel, the main one that we're going to look at, has 22,000 subscribers. That's not something to sneeze at. It's not. He has tens of thousands of followers across different platforms. I wouldn't say that this is a giant movement though. I mean, let's just be really really cautious and say 10,000 people. 10,000 people is still a lot. It's a lot. And this is a group of highly organized, highly focused people. If we had a group of 10,000 highly organized, highly focused people fighting critical race theory, we would have already won already. So this might not be a big group of people, but that doesn't mean they can't do damage. Nick H., thank you for the super chat. Awesome article is pointed out by chat, Ms. Carlin. Thank you, Nick. We worked really hard on it, so we appreciate that. Sounds crazy, right? It sounds like something the leftist corporate media would say. A ploy to call things that don't align with their political agenda white supremacists in a grab for more power and control. Well, two things can be true at once. It is true that the woke left and their media allies have overused the term racist and white supremacist so much that they have completely devalued their actual meaning. When everything is racist, nothing is racist. But it is also true that the woke left calling everything it doesn't like racist is directly supporting the efforts of nefarious actors under the guise of white well-being and white positivity. It's creating angry white people who feel they have nowhere to go because every major institution in society is calling them white supremacists. Some of them even believe there will be a white genocide at any moment. Actually, like a good number of them do. They really do. We didn't talk a lot about that in this article because, to be quite frank, guys, I cannot even tell you how much information we have. We have mountains of information. One of the things that made this article so hard is there was so much information to go through. We actually had all the evidence we needed for this article like a week and a half ago, and then we just kept finding more and more and more and more. It was like a flood of information. So we are going to be doing follow-up pieces to this. Kieran is going to write some on his own. I have some ideas for things I want to write on my own. We might do some together. But there's just so many aspects of this to explore that we could not get into everything in one article. This is already a long article as it is. And so we did our best to make it highly, highly focused, but we couldn't get into everything in this article. So just know there's a lot more than what you're seeing here. We just haven't gotten to it yet. There is a legitimate movement of classical liberals, disaffected Democrats, center-right conservatives, and libertarians who are opposing the ideas advanced in critical race theory. Critical race theory says the most important thing you need to know about a person is their race, and that every interaction and institution in our society is guilty of systemic racism and white supremacy. The anti-CRT movement, of which we are both a part, fundamentally rejects these ideas as racist and anti-human. We believe that society should be color indifferent. We see race, but it does not impact how we treat people, and grounded on individualism and meritocracy, otherwise known as Enlightenment values. The saboteurs advancing the white positivity movement are fundamentally different than the anti-CRT movement. In fact, you could argue they have more in common with the proponents of critical race theory than they do with those who oppose it. And what we have right here in this table is just a few examples of how the people we're going to talk about in this article are more like the woke left than they are like the anti-CRT movement. These are not Republicans. These are not conservatives. These are not Trump supporters. The people trying to co opt the anti-C movement are not on the political right. I'm not making that up. They'll tell you that themselves. And they will tell you, we're going to watch clips of them saying exactly that. So I don't want anyone saying, well, these are just conservatives or MAGA people. No, they're not. They are not on the political left and they're not on the political right. They are a third thing. They are outside of the left right paradigm. They completely reject it. So, and you're going to hear them kind of alluding to that as we go through the clips. Well, the anti-CRT movement says we should judge people based on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. The white positivity movement rejects the teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. CRT rejects the civil rights movement more largely. While the anti-CRT movement rejects identity politics, the white positivity movement embraces it. In the anti-CRT movement, we do not believe in judging people by the color of their skin. Just like the woke left and the proponents of CRT, the white positivity movement believes that one of the most important things about you is your skin color. And not for nothing, but the white positivity folks, predictably, don't like the Jews either. They are overtly anti-Semitic. Critical race theory, under the broader umbrella of critical social justice, has also been shown to be anti-Semitic. If you support the anti-CRT movement, the one that has parents speaking out at school boards around the country and laws being passed in multiple states to oppose indoctrination in government-funded schools, then you must understand that those in the white positivity movement are not your friends. They are not your allies. They are collectivists who have more in common with the woke left and their desired outcomes than they do with those who want a color indifferent society. Now, we put that paragraphs in there specifically because I'm in a bunch of anti-CRT groups and I see what happens when people post something about like the white positivity movement or the white well-being movement. They say, well, what's wrong with being positive? What's wrong with caring about well-being for white people? What's wrong with that? You're going to see what's wrong with that as we make our way through this article. Because the thing of it is again, these people are very, very smart with language. They're smart with language. They're using language in a way that is trying to advance their ideology. They don't really care about well-being of anyone. It's not about well-being. That's not what it's about. So if you support the anti-CRT movement, people really need to understand that just because someone uses language that sounds nice, oh, they just care about positivity around white people. White people have it so hard these days. They just care about positivity. Okay? They're not your friends. They're not your allies. They're trying to sell you something. Dashing Rogue sent you DM on Twitter. You are correct about CRT. If you sent it to me like in the last 20 minutes or so, I'll check it when I get off the stream. Thank you. If you haven't sent it to me in the last 20 minutes, I haven't received it. So we will see. But definitely make sure you sent it recently and I'll check it out. Allowing the white positivity proponents to associate with the anti-CRT movement is the easiest way to corrupt all of the hard-won progress we've made in getting the public to wake up and see the woke left for what it really is. And here is my biggest concern with these idiots being anywhere near the anti-CRT movement, is that it is only going to take one of them, like Daniel Kincannon. It's only going to take one of them doing something stupid or saying something stupid, and then the entire woke left and the media is going to point to that person and say, here's what it means to oppose critical race theory, and this is why we need anti-racist training for everyone. You know they're going to use this. It is the most toxic possible thing to infuse into this movement. It will ruin it like that. And that really, to be very honest, that by itself, there are so many people who have put themselves out on a limb in this movement. There are so many people who have lost their jobs speaking up against this. I don't want to piss on the sacrifice of all of those people by having anything to do with people like this. The people that we're going to look at in this article do not represent the legitimate anti-CRT movement. And every single person, we can disagree on some things within what we're trying to do, but every single person in this movement should be able to say, we renounce these people. These people do not stand for what we stand for. We stand for a colorblind or color indifferent society based on individualism and meritocracy. We do not believe that your race should be the most important thing about you. We do not believe that people should be judged based on the color of their skin. We reject it emphatically. These people embrace that. Shawnee, the whole article has evidence. You can click on the link if you're getting bored and you can look at the evidence for yourself. Thanks. Our goals with this piece are as follows: explore how nefarious actors are using language in the same ways the woke left, discuss what these people believe and how they are different from the anti-CRT movement, show a specific example of how they are trying to infuse their language into the anti-CRT discussion through social media groups. This piece will use specific examples from key individuals in the white positivity movement to illustrate precisely who they are and what they believe. You will hear from them in their own words, because in this fight, it's words that matter most. This will be the first of many pieces we will be writing exploring this problem, both individually and collaboratively. The reality is there is an ocean of information and we'll only be able to scratch the surface, but we felt this was the most important place to start. Now we're going to talk a little bit about language, because something that everyone needs to wrap their head around is that language is the primary weapon that these people are using. Their entire goal is to insert their lexicon and dialectic into popular culture. And they don't care how they're doing it. They just want people to use their language. And what's happening is there are a lot of people on the political right, including Tucker Carlson and including Blake Masters, who have used their language. So anyone thinking that this is just happening in like far off corners on the internet with just a few people and it's just a couple of Facebook groups, number one, it's not just a couple of groups. They are all over the place. Number two, their language has already been used by some of the most influential people on the political right. It's already been used. They already won those victories. We're going to talk more about how they did that in a second, but I really want people to understand that this is not, we're not making a mountain out of a molehill. What we believe, having spent a lot of time looking at this, is that a lot of people who are saying that we're making a mountain out of a molehill, they're the ones trying to make a molehill out of a mountain. They're not looking at what's right in front of them. And because language is the weapon that they're using, it is so easy to miss it when it's right in front of your face. But almost anyone that you encounter using the term anti-white is either hearing it from this group or they are connected to this group. Let's continue. George asked, what's so important about that language? Well, let's learn, George. Let's learn what's so important about the language. A homograph is a word that is spelled the same way but can have different meanings depending on how it's used. For example, bass or bass, B-A-S-S, can mean a type of fish, a low, deep voice, or a musical instrument. Fine can mean something that is of high quality or a penalty that you have to pay for an infraction. Wave can mean moving your hand to greet someone, or seawater coming to shore. You get the idea. The point is that words can be used in different ways. In the culture war, the battleground is the dialectic. Influencing language is the most potent weapon that any group possesses. The woke left have known this for years, following Alinsky's advice in Rules for Radicals by actively changing the common known definitions of words like racist or white supremacist to mean anyone who disagrees with them politically, and then using them in this new manner until the new meaning has been adopted by broader popular culture. In 2020, they even managed to change the dictionary definition of racism to broaden it out to add legitimacy to their argument for systemic racism. There is no greater level of success for those engaging in the linguistic war than to see the mainstreaming of their terms. Shawnee, all you need to do literally is go into the live chat on their streams and you'll see it. Just go do your own work, man. They do use that language. They 100% do. It's in their live chat all the time. Just go look. So the point here, guys, is that, you know what's funny about this? So we, like, in my locals anyway, we've talked about Rules for Radicals. We read Rules for Radicals in book club. These people are using Rules for Radicals too. I guarantee you This guy has read Rules for Radicals, probably has dog-eared the pages. Like, they're using Rules for Radicals in exactly the same way that the woke left are. The purpose of manipulating the meaning of words is to use them as political weapons, retrofitting them to become effective tools to further their ideological outreach. These words are no longer descriptors, they have now become ideological signifiers. For instance, to the uninitiated, the word white is perceived to simply mean the color of one's skin. However, in the context of critical race theory, it is synonymous with who holds power. Black does not mean the color of one's skin and instead signifies a political identity. That's why Joe Biden could claim, "You ain't black," if you didn't vote for him. Why would we believe that other groups weren't paying attention, learning from the techniques the woke left uses in order to advance their own ideology? Jason Cohn, also known as No White Guilt, was paying attention. Jason, who proclaims being part of the white sympathetic sphere since 1994, long before critical race theory was mainstream, released a self-published manifesto, Go Free, that reads like white fragility for budding white identitarians. It's as if Jason took inspiration from the success of pop culture critical race theorists Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi. If they could weaponize race and language for their political goals, then what's to stop him? This is a point I really want to emphasize. He has been in this world since 1994. He's been in this world since he was a kid. Jason is not responding to critical race theory. He's not responding to critical race theory. He is using critical race theory to help him achieve something he was already working on already. He has been in the white sympathetic sphere for a very, very, very long time. This is precisely what he's done. The call to action in Go Free. Oh, Shawnee's saying he was in the white sympathetic sphere. Oh, Shawnee's getting put in a timeout. If he can behave himself, he can come back like a big boy. This is precisely what he's done. The call to action in Go Free is to influence culture through language. If they can get people to use language in the mainstream, that will give them more power to advance their agenda. To achieve this, they utilize words like homographs, which become a container word or a vessel word, meaning they intentionally present as a familiar or palatable carrier for a specific ideological message. These words then become an insidious vehicle from which the desired message can be disseminated, and thus allows these words and phrases to become mainstream within the current discourse. And now we're getting into the meat of it. We had to do some boring stuff, I understand that, but now we're getting into the meat of the conversation. Have you heard the word anti-white, also spelled without the hyphen, used to describe critical race theory? If so, chances are it came from Jason Cohn and his white positivity movement, with the specific intent of advancing his agenda. Later in this article, we will demonstrate their obsession with getting this term adopted into the mainstream and celebrating their successes when it is used by the mainstream media outlets and politicians. But for the moment, let's talk about the definition. When you hear the term anti-white, you may interpret it as something that is derogatory to white people based on the color of their skin. It's easy to understand why people may believe that critical race theory is anti-white, as it casts whiteness as the most impressive form in society. But that's not how Jason interprets it. The term anti-white is a vessel word. It is an ideological marker. Anti-white in this context does not mean racism against white people. Instead, it is a catch-all phrase for anyone that does not subscribe to Jason's view of the world. Jason defines anti-white as the following: people, thoughts, deeds, laws, policies, rules, and organizational entities that are amenable to the well-being of Western kind. Western kind is defined as a white person or white people as a collective and as a political entity. A West man is defined as a white person. The woke left are collectivists, making broad generalizations about groups based purely on the color of their skin. Jason's group is no different, literally referring to white people as a collective in their own definition. And just like when Kendi declares that you are either a racist or an anti racist, Jason declares that you are either an advocate for white well being or you are an anti white. In Go Free, he writes, no person or group of people is anti white by way of immutable characteristics, such as race and sex. Rather, choosing to think anti white thoughts, act in anti white ways, or participate in anti white ideologies or strategies makes one anti white. This is precisely the same logic that led the Los Angeles Times to declare Larry Elder a white supremacist, or the Washington Post asserting that non white people who supported Trump were guilty of multiracial whiteness. The woke left currently has institutional power controlling government, education, and the media. Thankfully, Jason and his followers are mostly relegated to the darkest parts of the internet. However, our concern is that they are proactively targeting the legitimate anti CRT movement to co opt it for their own purposes, and their language is becoming more and more mainstream. With the help is becoming more and more mainstream with the help of conservative media and influencers who do not know where it is coming from or what it means. I can understand why conservative influencers don't know where it's coming from. I can, because the only reason I know about this is because these people came out of nowhere to attack me in June. I did a video back in June that was titled "Stop Calling CRT Anti-White," and in response to that, these people attacked me for weeks. They brigaded my channel. They came in. They harassed my followers and supporters. It went on for weeks, all because I posted a video saying that critical race theory is not anti-white. So that's how I found out about these people. So I can understand why conservative influencers and media don't understand the origins of this word. But I'm going to tell you guys, to be really honest, it always freaked me out. I never liked this term. I always thought it was a really, really bad term from the very beginning. So, and we'll go on to see why, because now I have the evidence for it. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, so anti-white for Jason is the same as the is, phobes, and are for the woke, people who disagree with them. Yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Anyone who they consider me anti-white. They also think I'm a Jew. So they don't consider me to be white because they've convinced themselves I'm a Jew. We're going to talk about some of the anti-Semitism, but they consider me to be anti-white. They consider Chris Rufo to be anti-white. We're going to see direct evidence of that. The reason they think Chris Rufo is anti-white is he basically tells them all to screw off. But also because they don't like that he's not married to a white woman. We'll talk more about that. Oh, Casper. You're getting blocked, my friend. Sorry. Hang on. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Casper, you wish. You wish. Never going to happen. Sorry, guys. Just responding to a troll. A troll on Facebook, by the way. I'm streaming right now on Facebook, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Facebook. Just so you guys know. Okay. Hang on. All right. Moving on. They are taking advantage of the vulnerable and confused. When parents and concerned citizens join anti-CRT groups on Facebook, they're usually not experts in the ins and outs of critical theory. I gotta get that off the screen. Okay. They are busy people with real lives off the internet and are probably just concerned about the impact the woke ideology is having on their children in public schools. They are confused, seeking a social support system, and are looking for information to help them understand what's happening around them. And that is precisely when they are being targeted by nefarious actors. Okay, guys, so let me zoom out. What is happening is one of these people's primary recruiting grounds are like online forums, and they're actively targeting anti-CRT groups on Facebook in order to advance their message. So what they do is they go in, and we're going to see an example of this. They post stuff that looks kind of innocuous or sometimes is actually like really overt, but they kind of go back and forth to try to get people to watch their content and read their ideas to try to pull them into the movement. And what they're doing, think about the type of person that goes into an anti-CRT group. This is a parent with a busy life who has probably heard about like critical race theory on like Fox News or something, and they just want to understand it. They're at the very top. They're not like us. Like people like us think about critical race theory all the time. Okay, maybe not you guys, but I do, right? I think about this stuff like all the time. Most people are normal. Most people don't do that. And so they're coming into these groups just looking for information and looking to find a social support system and things like that. And you know, they end up getting sucked into a white something or other cult, a white positivity cult as a result because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're looking for. So these are like low information people, and that's exactly the point. These are not people that are watching the news all day. These are not people that are looking at content all day or things like that. These are low information people, and that's who they're targeting. And by the way, I don't say that as a pejorative or anything derogatory. People have busy lives. I wish I had a life where I didn't have to think about this all day. Sounds like a great place to be. But those are the types of people that they're targeting. The intent of this section is to help people who are in those groups for the right reasons understand what to watch out for and the types of people that may be hearing and the types of people they might be hearing from. In an ideal world, they could say it's best to ignore people. However, they are preying on parents seeking information in order to advance an agenda and having provable successes with their strategies. It's no longer something we can ignore. If we do, the problem will simply get larger until it becomes insurmountable. We have enough to deal with in fighting back against the woke left, and ignoring the extremists will only hinder our efforts. Yes, Jason, that's exactly right. They're predators. They're absolutely predators. All right, guys, now we're going to get into the section of the article where we're going to be looking at examples. And we're going to be watching some videos. If you can't chat in, it's because I set the chat to subscriber only mode. You have to be subscribed to it for a certain period of time. So subscribe now. You might be able to chat a little bit later. I don't mind John Doyle, to be honest. I have no evidence that John Doyle's like a groiper. Like, these are not, okay, let me be really clear. These are not groipers. These are not groipers. It's not that. These are not people on the political right. Now, I don't like groipers, but they're not the subject of this particular thing. They're not who I'm talking about at all in any way. So I'm sorry if you guys can't chat. It's just like I had to keep the trolls out. I'm sorry. It's a precaution. That's why you have to make sure you're subscribed. That's one of the benefits of making sure you're subscribed already. All right. On September 7th, okay, so how I found out about this is these idiots happened to try to infiltrate an anti-CRT group that I was in. That was how I discovered this. They happened to do this in a group I was in. On September 7th, 2021, this post showed up in an anti-CRT group on Facebook called Critical Theory Skeptics. It features Daniel Kincannon, who we mentioned in the opening of the piece. It was posted by a profile named Don Jackson. Listen, this guy, Don Jackson, is not the only person doing this, but if you run an anti-CRT group, do a search for Don Jackson and boot his ass out if he's been posting in your group. Okay? Don Jackson. A quick look at Don Jackson's profile showed he recently joined the group less than a month prior and had only made 2 posts in it, both related to Daniel Kincannon. When you click on the link in his post, you are taken to a video called Critical Race Theory is Anti-White. Now, an interesting thing about this is something I've noticed recently where they took out the hyphen, but they started capitalizing the W. So this is actually very distinctive of this group. If you see anti-capital white without a hyphen, it is probably people coming out of this group. Featuring an anonymous man named Donald Kent, as well as a man named Brant Danger and Daniel Kincannon. And this is just a screenshot of that so you can see. Okay, so the YouTube channel is named American. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to. Before digging into this video, it is important to explain that Donald Kent, who is this guy featured in the video, and Don Jackson, the guy posting in the Facebook groups, are the same person. Notice the name of the YouTube channel Donald Kent runs. Excuse me, this American Zara, whatever the hell. Oh. Hang on, guys. Sorry, I'm just gonna get a drink of water real quick. I've been talking too much today. All right. Notice the name of the YouTube channel, Donald Kent Runs American Whatever. Coincidentally, someone named Jackson Dawn used to run a Twitter account with the same flipping handle. This account no longer exists, but showed up in a simple search on DuckDuckGo. There are also other similarities between the two, including videos on the American Whatever channel of Donald Kent drawing in what looks to be a similar setup as depicted in the former cover photo he used on his Don Jackson Facebook profile. Donald Kent says in the video in question that he is, in fact, an art teacher. Oh, is that Nietzsche? That makes sense. That makes sense. But you can see here, look at the cover photo in his, he locked down his Facebook profile as soon as he figured out I was looking at him, by the way. So this is all changed now, but I took screenshots. Always screenshot everything. Screenshot everything. But look at his setup in his profile photo and then look at the video. Oh, that looks like the same person. That looks like the same setup. Just saying. A few days later, Don Jackson was removed from the Critical Race Skeptics group after he was called out for the materials he was posting. More on the content of that video as we proceed. We strongly advise anyone running anti-CRT groups to take similar action when this type of content is identified. He also locked down his Facebook account entirely, but not before we were able to search his posts in other anti-CRT groups on Facebook, and we were specifically looking for posts that had the anti-white term. Turns out, Don had been posting about Daniel in other groups as well, along with additional posts calling critical race theory anti-white. Here are a few posts from groups that were publicly available. It does not include any groups that might be private. So what you're going to see here is just a recording of my screen, scrolling through some of the posts that Don Jackson was making in a whole bunch of Facebook groups. We'll talk about some of the specifics in a second. But he was posting he's posting stuff like all this stuff. All the things he's posting are from the white positivity movement. They're not related to critical race theory. This is all from the white positivity movement. This keeps going. And this is only what's publicly available. We haven't even released the really bad ones yet. I've got some really bad ones that aren't even in this article. Because I asked administrators of groups to start looking for them. So we got a lot of stuff. So you can see that's a lot of flipping posts. That's a lot. So we know that Don Jackson / Donald Kent are posting content specifically targeting anti-CRT Facebook groups. Let's listen to his explanation about why he was posting. All right, guys, so we're going to start listening to some clips. I'm going to let the clips just play, and you can type your comments in the chat as you're listening to the clips. But these are them in their own words about why they're doing what they're doing. Please let me know if the sound doesn't work for some reason.
So beautiful, the direction this is going.
Hang on, I'm going to start that again because I accidentally turned the sound off.
So this is really beautiful, the direction this is going. This is one of the purpose of this show really is to not just dwell and be reactionary. Brant was very good in explaining that we're heading towards solutions. So we don't want to just come on here and complain and waste your time. We all know what's going on. It's about figuring out how do we handle this? How do we move forward? And, you know, what I'm promoting is that our people in the white positive movement somehow get into, I don't know if infiltrate's the word, but I want to say that go on social media, get involved specifically on Facebook with these anti-CRT groups and start dropping our media, dropping our message, getting the word out, challenging people. Do it politely, do it rationally, be an adult. If you're representing the white positive movement, be positive. It's okay to be human, get angry and make a joke or this or that, but try to realize that, you know, a lot of these people that we're dealing with, they have zero background in politics. They know even less about our movement, the white positive movement, etc. And so they're really just babes in the woods, and they'll eat up anything they're told. And they come into this movement with white guilt already ensconced into them, like through all the indoctrination that we have. So you better believe that, the forces that be are going to want to corral these whites and allies of whites, people of color who support whites in Western civilization, and make them think it's not about whites. It's not, hence the title of the show, Critical Race Theory is Anti-White. And so we have to start strategizing these things. And part of it is psychological. Part of it is just facts and data and knowing how to talk to people. There's all kinds of people, but you have to realize that, mom and dad from, anywhere America, they see their kids going to school, they see this CRT garbage in school, and they're forced out of their homes. They're forced out of their complacency to take time out of their day to protect their children. Yet they're entering a battle that they have the slightest idea of what they're up against. The enemy has all the dialectic. They have all the media. They can razzle dazzle and like knock our people down. When I say our people, I mean people who are trying to fight for the rights of whites, white sovereignty, etc. So we need to co-opt that movement. The anti-CRT movement is, in a way, our movement. It should be, anyway, in that sense. So because we're the true leaders in this movement and what's going on in terms of racial identity politics for whites. So that's why I have this show. And, when more topics like this come up in the news, I'll invite you both back. Of course, we'll talk more about it.
He had specifically said, so we need to co-opt that movement. The anti-CRT movement is, in a way, our movement. So you can see they're distinguishing themselves from the anti-CRT movement. They do not see themselves as part of it. And they're saying, we need to co-opt this thing. It should be, anyway, in a sense that we're the true leaders in this movement in terms of what's going on for racial identity politics for whites. So they're specifically saying it. There is no uncertain terms. No uncertain terms. Oh yeah, I'm dying on this hill. 100% dying on this hill. Abso-fucking-lutely. With Donald Kent is Brant Danger. Brant is an interesting character. He's a high school teacher who has recently left teaching in public schools, thank God, to run the School of the West, a school dedicated to the betterment of Western kind and enabling children to develop self-esteem by providing them the truth of their heritage. As Brant himself explains in this post on Gab, Western kind means white, just like in Jason's manifesto. And this is Brent basically posting from the School of the West account, Brant rather, posting from the School of the West account. Only white people, Western kind, can create Western civilization. Without Western kind, there is no Western civilization. In the same way that if all Japanese people were replaced with Africans, there'd be no more Japan. You'd have to be unbelievably stupid to not understand this. And here are a few screenshots from Brant's school's website. Welcome to White Wellbeing. Brant's school offers homeschool curriculum for white well-being and some other stuff as well. And he has white well-being curriculum for both youth and teens. One of the reasons that Brant left teaching in public schools in Arizona was apparently because the state mandated teaching the Holocaust, which he calls a hoax event and an example of whiteness. So let's listen to what Brant has to say.
Where I was teaching last, there was anti-white material seeping in at a lot of levels, but it wasn't overt yet. And in my state, in Arizona, the governor outlawed teaching CRT in schools in the state of Arizona. Now, I'd be surprised if all the teachers adhered to that, because some teachers are going to try and push that through anyway. At the same time, there's a certain event that supposedly happened at some point in the past that has to be taught in Arizona starting next year. So on one hand, they're getting rid of the anti-whiteness, and on the other hand, they're bringing it in. I think we know which event I'm talking about there. So I didn't have to deal with it directly, but I'll try and wrap it up here. As I said before, when I was, I think, on your show, maybe in February, some of the history lessons and social studies lessons I was teaching when I was in the 5th grade I would read something to the kids and then realize, well, as a teacher, you scan ahead, you put it in your RAM, and then you speak. And so I put this stuff into my head, and I said, I'm about to say a lie here. So I preface this by saying, okay, kids, I'm going to read you something now. This is not true, but this is what the book says. And this goes back to lessons that we had before. You're going to hear things. Is it true or false? Is this fact or opinion? How do you know that what your teacher is telling you is true? How do you know that what you see on TV or the internet or a book is true? Right now, as you're a kid, you've got to accept this because you don't have any other choice. But you're going to come to a point where you grow up, you're going to have to find these things out for yourself.
Yeah.
And as you know, as we all know, once you gain the trust of students in the classroom, they're going to trust you come hell or high water. I can say something to the kids and they can look it up on the internet and they'll say, oh, the internet is wrong. Because, Mr. So-and-so just said it's the other thing.
Yes.
So you heard him talking about how he's teaching kids that what's in the textbook isn't true. Now, listen, I think everyone watching right now probably has an issue with what's going on in the public schools. God knows I do. But I am not in favor of teaching children that the Holocaust was a hoax. The Holocaust was a real thing. I think we can, hopefully all say that. In the above video, Brandt also specifically discusses teaching children that's what is in the textbook isn't true. They're Holocaust deniers. Later in the chat, Donald discusses overhearing his son's teacher talking about a certain hoax event in World War II history as Brandt laughs. So watch Brandt's reaction specifically in this video. This guy was both Donald and Brandt, and actually technically Daniel, all three of them worked in schools. All three of them worked in schools. Donald was an art teacher. Brandt taught whatever, apparently history or whatever. Daniel Kincannon taught in a school not that far away from my house, or was a site coordinator for a school. He did something in a school. Let's listen. Watch Brandt.
So let's look at another one of Brandt's points. Outright lies being printed in textbooks and novels that are assigned for kids to read. I look at my son's work. I talk to my son frequently about school. Last year when he had to stay home, and do the school online thing, I happened to be bringing some lunch to him, and I overheard his teacher talking about a certain hoax that exists in the World War II history. And I was walking in and I heard this right at that moment. And it was this kind of emotional outpouring and tears, crocodile tears and all this. And I'm like, what's going on in here? I just walked in on it, I was off screen and my son looked away from the screen for a second to see me. I'm doing the thumbs down to him and she harps on him immediately.
Best of all, if you're in an anti-CRT group on Facebook, you may even be familiar with Brandt's School of the West. In this clip, Don reiterates he's using anti-CRT groups on Facebook to post links to Brandt's School for White Well-Being.
I've been, with my sort of trolling in the anti-critical race theory movement on Facebook, I often will post your link to say, hey, look, an alternative to CRT. And then people click on it. And you can imagine, now in that sort of social media zone, you've got a lot of people like us who maybe they don't have our background or they don't understand the movement, but they support that and they'll like it quietly, but they won't comment. And I'll get lots and lots and lots of likes, but then a few comments of, oh no, it's this and that's not that, and it's not white, and then jumping through hoops and all the bend over backwards stuff. So yes, we have to sort of keep going with building our parallel movement. This parallel is a prime movement area. I think it's the sort of, how do I say this? The anti-CRT movement, I think, is the best place to kind of show our movement, to present our movement, to present our cause, to start bringing our data into that dialogue and demonstrating to people CRT is just one tentacle of this giant monster that is causing white genocide around the planet. and who are the people that have designed this and are funding it, and then kind of slowly break it all down. So yes, you're going to find that there are those that no matter what data you show them, they're just going to deny. They're kind of basically mental. They're like the imbeciles essentially. But I just got into a discussion, let's say a discussion with a woman about that. And, point after point, I was just like smashing her to pieces with, no, here's the data, here's the data, here's the data, race and IQ, DNA, civilization, history. I mean, on and on and on. And she just refused to admit it all. And at the end, she was like, I'm not going to change your mind. And I said, that's fine, honey, because I just changed the mind of all the people that were watching this discussion. So that's what's up. That's what's going on.
So they see their movement as parallel to CRT. They don't see it as the same thing. They're trying to go in and take over. And you notice neither Daniel, the person that was lifted up by conservative media, nor Brandt questioned that at all. Robert said these people are absolutely insane. Robert, you haven't even seen clips of Jason yet. We haven't even gotten to Jason yet. You hang on to your hat, buddy. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, best proof CRT is racist. Both CRT and this group use the same language and tactics, but inverted. It's disgusting how they take advantage of kids. I completely agree. All right. Who is Don referring to when he alludes to a group of people funding the white genocide they're anticipating? The Jews, of course, because they truly do believe that the Jews are funding critical race theory. They do. They're, again, very anti-Semitic. Here's Don's old Facebook account posting anti-Semitic material in anti-CRT groups, and one of him posting a link to Brandt's school for an additional piece of evidence that Donald Kent and Don Jackson are the same person. You can see here, he's posting a piece in multiple, this is just like one screenshot, multiple critical race theory groups that says critical race theory as a Jewish intellectual weapon. And here he's got a replacement curriculum for CRT. Pass it on to parents, teachers, schools that need it. And it's the School of the West. Most of the time when they're posting in Facebook groups, they're pretty covert, trying to lure people in slowly. However, sometimes they just don't hide who they are. Here's an example of Don Jackson posting overtly anti-Semitic material in another anti-CRT Facebook group. It basically, you guys can probably get the idea. I don't think I need to read that. I don't think I need to read it. Oh, here's a good one. And if you still have questions about Don's inclinations, you can listen to his version of John Lennon's Imagine he did on his BitChute channel called Reimagine with the following lyrics. I'm not going to sing, but I'll read the lyrics. Imagine all our people living the Western way, reimagine our own countries, not controlled by Jews, lands to kill or die for, our own religion too. Imagine all our people living, that should be life, in peace. I may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope one day for Imperium, and the white diaspora will be as one. That's on Don's BitChute channel. I'm not kidding. You guys can go see it. You guys can check it out. I don't recommend it. It's really disturbing, but that's real. Enter Daniel Kincannon. Daniel is a good foot soldier for this movement. When he resigned from his position as a site coordinator in the Manchester, New Hampshire School District for their mandated training, he did so with the specific intent of pushing anti-white into the mainstream. Let's listen.
We need to be in every lane. We need to be in every lane possible of this. Political, cultural, arts, even just verb, I'm working with what I have. Like I set out to take the word anti-white and put it into as many ears and in front of as many eyes as I can. I'll go anywhere I can to run my mouth and tell the truth. Like this is the instrument I got on me right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working with.
Right.
And I'll yell and scream from the rooftops. We'll tap into American history and I'll ride around like Paul Revere screaming about the anti-whites that are coming because they're coming, and it's scary for people that refuse to see it. But yeah, no.
On the surface, it might sound as though Daniel is your average conservative, but listen in this clip as he describes conservatives being on a conservative reservation and displays disgust with conservatives who admire Martin Luther King Jr. Brandt looks on in amusement.
Right. The only thing I'll say, I'll speak to one point that's peculiar, and anybody who's kind of on our side of things, I think, is eminently aware of this, but this is a point that needs to be reinforced for people that are more mainstream and people that are caught in that conservative, on that reservation and handcuffed by their narratives. Mm-hmm. So like, when Tucker covered me, it was just funny to see my face on the screen and have him describe me as an admirer of MLK. And then when I was on Laura Ingram's show, it was funny because right before it ended, her line, she quoted Martin Luther King Jr. before I, kind of was off of the screen. And I didn't have, there was no, my part was already over. So I didn't get to open my mouth again. But just the preoccupation, the obsession that the so-called right has with invoking the name of Martin Luther King Jr. Like he's not, like he wasn't a bridge to critical race theory.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
We're talking about the hand puppet of the communist Stanley Levison.
Yeah.
But every time we want to defend ourselves, we must invoke his name. Oh, it's rough.
Yeah, so I see people in the chat keep saying like they're like commies, they're like commies. Yes, they are. They're collectivists. They admit this. We're going to talk about this later, but you are absolutely correct. Yes, they are exactly like the woke left. Moving on, Daniel and others in this motley crew also flatly reject the work of one of the leaders of the anti-CRT movement, Christopher Rufo. Rufo is rejected by the white positivity movement as being anti-white because he embraces a colorblind or color indifferent worldview. They also aren't the biggest fans of him being married to a non-white person. Let's hear them talk about Chris Rufo.
So anyway, we're gonna
this
look at
bit
a
long.
clip which really
this is a little bit long, guys. Hang in. I might skip around a bit, but hang in. It's a little bit longer.
Demonstrates this kind of sick mentality of denying one's race, for whites to deny their race. So this was on the Mark Lamont show. It's on Twitter here. We're going to have a quick look at this.
Christopher, what do you like about being white?
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to
Idiot had his DMs open.
Because I got to get this audio on here. But while I'm doing that, Daniel, what were your thoughts about this clip? Maybe you can set it up. Just your laugh sets it up,
Yeah, if you're ready to go, maybe it would be best to to run the clip and then we can dive into it.
All right. Let me get the audio here and then we'll be ready to roll here. So now Mark Lamont Hill, his show is openly and aggressively anti-white. It's insanely anti-white in the most open sense of the word. So you have to kind of see him having Christopher Rufo on. I think he knew that Rufo was going to deny his whiteness in some sort of way. So let's take a listen to this.
I don't know. Again,
back up.
And if I were to say to you right now, Christopher, what do you like about being white? What would you say?
Watch their reactions. Watch their reactions.
I don't know. Again, it's such an amorphous term. It's like a census term or a
can you indulge me? Indulge me. Just we're running out of time. Indulge me for a minute. I understand you see it as all these things, but you surely recognize that the world sees you as white. You know the world reads you as white. And if you were to ask me some things I like about being Black, I could talk about cultural norms. I could talk about tradition. I could talk about kind of commonalities I feel around the diaspora. If I were to ask you what, particularly if you're saying whiteness is a thing that is being constructed as negative and shouldn't be, name something positive that you like about being white.
Well, sure. I'll answer with a thing. there's a lot of documents that are floating around public schools that say things like timeliness, showing up on time, is a white supremacist value or a white value, white dominant value. Things like rationality, things like the Enlightenment, things like objectivity, and these are very strange things to be ascribed to a racial identity. My view is that these are actually should be ascribed to every individual human being, regardless of whatever racial category we impose on them.
That doesn't answer the question, though. You're telling me you're making straw men about things that are ascribed to whiteness that you think are wrongfully ascribed to whiteness. I'm saying if whiteness isn't a negative thing, and there's something that whiteness actually shouldn't be constructed as all negative, name something positive about that you believe is positive about being white.
Again, I don't buy into the framework that the world can be reduced into these metaphysical categories of whiteness and blackness. I think that's wrong. I think we should look at people as individuals. I think we should celebrate different people's accomplishments. And again, I think the idea, you mentioned Ignatieff. Ignatieff says the goal is to, quote, abolish the white race. In any other context, this would be interpreted as a near genocidal slur. I don't buy into it. The reason I'm not going to answer your question is I reject that categorization. I think of myself as an individual human being with my own capabilities, and I would hope that we could both judge each other as individuals and come to common values on that basis.
Fair enough.
I would argue.
Okay, I just wanted to pause right there. I let that play just to give us a little breather because we've had to watch a lot of bullshit already. And so wasn't it a nice breather to watch Chris Rufo for a second speak to the values that I think many of us hold, which are that we should embrace a colorblind or color indifferent society based on individualism and meritocracy? That was just a nice little breather. I just wanted to give us that break. You definitely deserve a drink. Something must rinse down the vomit that must be bubbling up as you read and dude, I cannot even tell you guys. I have watched so much of this crap over the past several weeks. It has made, I'll talk about this at the end. It has made my heart very, very heavy. So I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But let's continue with the clip.
That the
ability to say, I don't see race, I don't.
Well, so there's that. Daniel, I'll let you have the first go.
It's just so amorphous.
Yeah.
Oh, if you've never seen an adult male's testicles ascend back up inside of himself, you just watched it when Christopher Rufo was posed a simple question. Now, he could have chosen 100 different avenues to answer that. Instead, he chose self-emasculation like I've never seen publicly displayed before. Personally, my answer would have been Western effing civilization.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's just me. But he couldn't even piggyback on what Marcus Lamont Hill said. He says himself, I like the culture, I like the camaraderie. Rufo couldn't even say, well, I agree with that. He also failed to, if he wants to take the coward's route, he could have also taken a more intelligent approach and said, well, Marcus, we all know what you're doing here. I'm the white guy. I'm not allowed to stick up for myself. I'm not allowed to stick up for white people. So whatever I say, you're going to finger it as white supreme. Ooh, he said white supremacist stuff. Yeah. He doesn't hate what, but he just wiggles and wriggles in his chair while he crosses his legs and twists them around each other. There's nothing in between to get in the way. It's embarrassing. And worst of all, so as it's closing out, kind of one of the, I guess the rainbow in it was the fact that he had the wherewithal to mention the great Ignatieff and his outright genocidal hatred of white people.
Right.
But irony of ironies that Christopher Rufo pointed that out. So let me just kind of set the tone for where that segued to within weeks of that appearance. Look at it big picture. What do what does the average person that isn't totally aware, that has been sheltered from the anti-white hate campaign, they look at this issue of critical race theory. They have two basically ways to look at it. There's pro-CRT. They want to abolish the white race. Then you have anti-CRT, Christopher Rufo. I like to call him Paul Singer's Italian roof guy, because that's who he's the messenger boy of. Let's not forget that. You have Christopher Rufo making appearances and celebrating what will soon be the abolition of all races. Huh. That sounds like a hell of a choice to me, because I don't like either of those sides. And this is the number one guy. So weeks after critiquing Ignatieff.
All right. That's basically it. They really have a problem. I think when Chris Rufo, when he was on Tim Pool, said something about like a colorblind society is pretty great and like all this stuff. That's, I think, what they're referring to with that. But you can see again, these people do not support the anti-CRT movement. This is the point that I'm beating this dead horse. These people do not support the anti-CRT movement. There's something else. Okay. And we're going to find out what that something else is. In a separate experience on Jason's now we're going to start getting introduced to Jason. This is Jason right here. He doesn't talk in this one, but we're going to listen to some stuff from Jason. This is when it's going to get really, really creepy. Trust me. In a separate appearance on Jason's channel, Concannon reiterates this point. His goal was to introduce the term anti-white to a mainstream audience, and he was so proud of it. They do not care about defeating critical race theory as much as they care about using the fight against critical race theory to advance their language. Because we watched a bunch of clips so far. So I just want to bring it back. Chris Rufo was definitely on Tim Pool. I know that. I just want to bring it back. Remember, guys, their movement is about changing language. Just like the woke left, their movement is about changing language. And this is why we need to pay very close attention to the language that we are using, because it is their specific intent to insert their lexicon and dialectic into the mainstream. Let's listen to Daniel talk about how he was so proud to introduce millions of people to the term anti-white through conservative media.
Well, Daniel, I know it's a lot to condense, but if you could just give us the overview, couple of minutes of what it was like to publish your resignation and have the attention of big mainstream media. Just catch people up on that, and then I know we'll have some questions from the chat in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so end of June, school year wrapped up, and I officially published my letter of resignation, calling out what it was, mocking these losers for what they did, mocking the entire situation, telling them in direct terms, F you. I wanted to set a tone. I wanted to set an example that it's not about being reasonable with people that hate you. It's about fighting back. It's about standing your ground. It's about pushing back against these people. So I sent that out. I attached a bunch of materials to it. I kind of attached just to give context to everything, because I knew, maybe there'd be some media buzz about it. I didn't know how far it would go or how fast. And it went far and it went fast. In very short order, there was, major cable news reaching out and contacting me. I ended up on a couple of news cycles, a couple of appearances on the cable networks. A lot of national press, very significant level press, publications, a lot of, local stuff, New Hampshire-based stuff. It put pressure, fortunately, and that's part of what I set out to do, was to raise awareness about what's going on. The fact that this is in Manchester School District where I worked. A lot of people didn't know about it. Heck, I didn't know about it until they foisted it upon me. But it's there, it's everywhere. So yeah, it went big, it went fast, it got a lot of eyes on it, and it went. I couldn't help. It
wrong way.
exceeded what I hoped, and I almost thought with the resignation letter that I crafted that it may be self-limiting because of the mockery and kind of the sardonic nature of it. But fortunately, that proved to really not be true. People grabbed it. It spun out. The verbiage of anti-white, which is the most important thing, the language war and what we need to call this, and making anti-white be ubiquitous. I forget critical race theory, forget any of it. Just call it all what it is, call it anti-white. But I was deeply pleased. I'm proud to have gotten those words in front of so many eyeballs and into so many people's ears.
So I'm going to just say that again, what he said. The verbiage of anti-white, which is the most important thing, the language of what we need to call this, and making anti-white be ubiquitous. Forget critical race theory, forget any of it. I was deeply pleased. I'm proud to have gotten those words to so many eyeballs and into so many people's ears. He themselves they're telling you that this is all about the language. Paul Taylor says they are real racist and should be avoided at all costs. Thank you, Paul, for the super chat. I agree. No, we are not supporting censorship. No one is supporting censorship. No one has said anything about censorship. Being mindful of your language is something that everyone is capable of. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. What I think, and we're going to talk about this later in the article, is that everyone who cares about the legitimate CRT movement, anti-CRT movement, the legitimate anti-CRT movement, stop using the term anti-white. Stop using it immediately. You don't need to use it. First of all, it's not even an accurate descriptor. Secondly, there are a million different ways that you can say the same, that get across the same concept without using that term. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. And I'm going to be very, very blunt, guys. If you come on my channel and you say CRT is anti-white, I will ban you immediately because you've given me no choice. You are using the language of these people that I'm laying out for you very clearly. So it's your choice. You do not have free access to my channel. That's not censorship. That's me saying that I don't want to associate with you if you are going to willingly and knowingly associate with these people. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. All right, moving on. We're getting into the good stuff. Well, see, this is an example, guys, of something that's going to get you immediately blocked. Thank you for identifying yourself. Block. In a live chat on this stream, you'll even find a few familiar names. Brant has even been blessed with the moderator's rent. So you're going to see that American Zarathustra channel, and you're going to see Brant as a moderator on Jason's channel. And then there's Jason. Watching Jason Cohn is like what it might be like to watch a young L. Ron Hubbard indoctrinate people into Scientology. While Scientology promises people will go clear, Jason promises going free. He utilizes selective truths in order to push larger lies to his audience that worships him in an almost god-like fashion. In his live streams, Jason presents an image of near obsession with getting his lexicon and dialectic inserted into the common vernacular. Let's hear from Jason himself. This is the leader of this movement. This is the leader of this movement right here.
Every time you see the lexicon and dialectics being used by people, ordinary Westmen, men, women, and children of our race, everywhere you see that being used by them, the vagues out there, everywhere you see it being used in the regime's media, everywhere you see it being used in alternative media, whether it be alternative media that is somewhat friendly to those who care about white well-being, to somewhat white sympathetic, all the way to radically anti-white media online, alternative media online. Every time you see that, it is because of us. And I cannot tell you the surreal environment that I live in on a daily basis after pushing something for far more than 2 decades now. I'm not going to give away my real age, but for far more than 2 decades, I have been pushing anti-white, anti-whiteism, Western kind, white well-being. And we have continued to reach new levels of the usage around planet Earth. And all of you now who have been with us either for weeks or months or years or a decade, however long you've been with us, pushing the same thing because you had the foresight to see this is what will change the world we live in. Because if you can change the societal conversation, you change that milieu, you change that matrix in which everything has to take place. Every conversation by every water cooler, every conversation by every lathe, every conversation by every front loader, every conversation in every board meeting, every conversation in every hall of government then has to take place through that medium. And then also, what can come out of that? The culture of us as heroes, the culture of us in our own story, the culture of us using our lexicon and our dialectics to revivify our people, to create a people out of a deracinated race. That, my friends, is the success that we see on a daily basis. It is a living dream come true.
So, quick question. Did anyone, as you were watching that clip, see a cult leader? Because I kind of like, just an opinion. I imagine that's what it's like to watch a cult leader. That's what I saw. He is very charismatic, though. And for people who are angry, yes, they use World Slugger. They use rules for radicals. They follow rules for radicals. They absolutely do. 100%. I think Kieran's going to actually do another piece on that. They follow rules for radicals. So what you guys need to know is, like, he's very charismatic, and he said some things that make me believe he's a former salesperson. He knows how to manipulate people. He knows how to get people to buy into ideas. He is very, very slick when he wants to be. And this is why this is dangerous, because they're recruiting people when they're angry, when they're confused, when they're vulnerable, and they're saying, "We'll build you up. We'll give you community. We'll give you pride. Isn't it nice to be proud of who you are? Aren't all these people bad for telling you you shouldn't be proud of who you are?" That's who this guy is. That's who he is. It might seem easy to label Jason as alt-right, and certainly there are proponents of CRT who will try to do that as soon as a result of this piece. But it's important to know that Jason looks down on conservatives. He does not perceive himself to be as a part of the left-right paradigm, and simply sees the political right as a ready tool of useful idiots that he can use to advance his agenda. Let's listen to Jason talk about conservatives.
In the work that we are doing in the service to white well-being, and the work everywhere else you go when it comes to the white positive sphere, conservatives, nationalists, whatever it might be, they all live inside of the anti-white narrative, and therefore they can never win. They do not know this. Trust in that, because I have conversations with these folks, and they are as dim-witted as a mule. They want to talk politics. They want to talk all of these superficial things that have nothing to do with the fundamental differences and changes that we have to make in this world, which begin in the hearts and minds of our people, and then branch out so that when we do get to an opportunity to take advantage of new developments in our contexts, we will be situated to take advantage of those developments, and we will also be immunized against what the anti-whites can do to us, even once we start to regain our destiny. Because rest assured, just because some group of white people somewhere suddenly throws up a new flag or an old flag or whatever it might be, rest assured that they are not going to be resistant or resilient to what anti-whites can do to them, to fracture them, to sectarianize them, to turn them against each other, to turn them against themselves. You need to be immunized by going free if you are going to survive what the anti-whites can throw at us. So it's not going to be this same old basic nationalism, bitch nationalism that's been beaten, the bitch conservatism that's been beaten, the bitch patriotism that's been beaten, the bitch religiosity that's been beaten. All of it been beaten by the anti-whites. None of it will suffice. All of it can be added to. All of it can be ancillary to the very surgical, fundamental work that we are doing here.
Do you say, I can provide you inoculation to the anti-whites? Just join my movement. I can provide you inoculation to the anti-whites. George Andre Velasco Nunez says his piece is very similar to the tone of the late Hugo Chavez and his peer here in South America. That does not surprise me at all. Thank you for the super chat. Jason is a collectivist. He does not believe in individualism. Okay, this is a really important point because one of the key attributes of the anti-CRT movement is we believe in judging people as individuals. We do not believe in judging people based on the color of their skin. We look at each individual and we make judgments based on the content of their character, what they're contributing, how they treat us, not looking at the color of their skin. Jason is a collectivist. Jason does not believe in that. You know who else doesn't believe in individualism? The woke left. They're all collectivists. Let Jason tell you exactly what he believes.
And we will ask and we will answer. Johnny Reb, $5 financial gift. Thank you, brother. Anti-whites have no fear of the abstractionists and individualism of conservatives. Absolutely correct. Thank you for making that's a fantastic point, Johnny Reb. I want you to think about that. If you're consider yourself a conservative, you're hearing us for the first time. Anti-whites, now these are the anti-whites who call themselves Marxists, Democrats, etc. They have no fear of abstractions and the radical individualism of conservatives. Whites were steadily more victimized during the 35 years Rush Limbaugh preached individualism and abstractions. Precisely. Radical individualism, folks, is suicide in a world of collectivism. I want you all to replay that 10,000 times, what I just said. If you're a conservative, say it to yourself 10,000 times, and it will finally land that, oh my God, what I've been told intentionally undermined me and everything that I care about.
Whites were steadily more victimized during the 35 years Rush Limbaugh preached individualism and abstraction. Radical individualism, folks, is suicide in a world of collectivism. He's telling you what he believes. This guy has a lot of hubris. He will tell you exactly what he believes. And that's part of the reason I'm so pissed that I had to do this. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Mark, I don't think white people should be attacked for being white any more than black people should be attacked for being black. But CRT might be even more damaging to black communities and families and individuals. Listen, I think CRT is damaging to everyone. I think it's damaging to different groups for different reasons. We're not going to talk about that today. We've talked about that a lot. Today, we're going to talk about how the white positivity movement is trying to co-opt the anti-CRT movement. Jason is also not a fan of a colorblind, what we call color indifferent society. So again, we all believe on the anti-CRT movement that we should not be judging people based on the color of their skin. Jason does not believe that. He thinks that the word colorblind is an anti-white slur. Let him tell you himself. In individualism. They do not believe in a colorblind society.
Precisely. And we're going to discuss that, MP.
Look, I said they do not believe in a colorblind society, and he said precisely.
Maybe today, or maybe I'll just say it right now. I don't know. A colorblind society, or being colorblind, is a code word for white erasure. It's a code word for no white people. It's a code word for anti-whiteism. That's what colorblind society means. There are no white people. Why? Do you know that? Well, because the people who say colorblind society are the same people who are advocating for the well-being of black people and good that should be done, and the well-being of Jews, and that should be done, and the well-being of Hispanics, that should be done. At the same time, while they're saying colorblind society and advocating for the well-being, the enrichment, the empowerment of all these non-white groups, when white people say, okay, colorblind society, and let's protect ourselves, Nazi, they immediately scream. That is what colorblind society means. You do not hear colorblind society in the anti-white organizations that are radically advancing all of the success that they are having as anti-whites throughout the totality of the West. The only place where you hear this meme pathogen pushed endlessly is in the pen where they trap white people. You have to be colorblind and you have to demonstrate how not racist you are for the totality of your life. Racist. How you demonstrate it by villainy signaling, by way of saying things like colorblind. You're not going to endorse a group of people practice that wants to put an end to the victimization of white people. And in refutation of that practice, you'll say, no, you are for a colorblind society. But then you will turn right around and you will say, yep, it's good that this harm that's being done to non-white children is being arrested, that we'll put an end to it. Where can I send my check? Sickening.
Oh, Jason. Common Cure says a lot of villain origin stories revolve around a person feeling like they've been screwed over by another person or group. Dude, you are not wrong. You are not wrong. Not wrong at all. Okay, let's see. Let's keep going. Now, Jason's right, of course, that you don't hear a colorblind society mentioned in organizations controlled by the woke left because the woke left does not believe in a colorblind society. However, the anti-CRT movement does. While the woke left and the white positivity movement believe in judging people by the color of their skin, the anti-CRT movement believes that we should judge people based on the content of their character. TPS says this guy believes all the same as CRT can't protect the West. If you reject individualism is foundational. That's right. That's, I mean, one of many reasons why these people are not aligned with us at all. These are not our allies. These are not our friends. Now, here's where we get into the scary part. Because up until this point, it might seem like it's just onesies and twosies of people, like angry white people screwing around on the internet. But, and we may talk more about this in future pieces, this group is highly organized. They're highly organized. I cannot emphasize this enough. They are highly organized. And they have outreach teams. They have coordinated outreach teams that go into different communities, that target different influencers. Here's what they do. Here is why the anti-white language was adopted, because they have all of these outreach teams that they go into the feeds of influencers and they just say anti-white, 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 anti-white over and over and over again in the feeds of these influencers. They swarm them, but the influencers don't know who they are. All the influencers are seeing are people, like a lot of people are saying anti-white in my feed. So I must have to say that for my audience. That's all they see. But it's not like everyone is saying it. It's just these people. But they're coordinated, and so it seems like a lot more than it actually is. Jason doesn't accomplish his goals of furthering his lexicon and dialectic by himself. He uses his followers to form outreach teams, a group of people who act as pro-white missionaries. These individuals are explicitly directed through required reading and the coaching lessons to spread Jason's message and teachings. They gleefully report their successes back to Jason, and he praises them in front of the rest of the community in order to provide an example to follow. So when someone gets praise by Jason on a live stream, like everyone wants that praise, right? Like everyone wants to be featured on the stream and get praised by him. And so every time he does this, he encourages other people, and then they go out and they try to do the same thing so that they can get praised. Let's listen.
We have done this. We are the ones responsible for this change. We are the ones responsible for normal, ordinary white people around planet Earth taking up a dialogue in their own defense because it has the moral backbone. It has the moral structure. We are the ones who did this. Who else is responsible for this? You know who else? Yiz is. Take a look at this. Yiz writes to me, another great success in cluster I've been influencing. In a Discord chat about movies and video games, a discussion about racial ethnic displacement ethnic displacement of white people, characters, started. And one of the people who has been paying attention to me engaged to speak the truth about anti-whiteism. He even used the terms erasure and anti-whiteism correctly. This person is not, all caps, repeat, not, all caps, someone I have personally coached. This is a guy I barely know, but who has been listening to me and other content creators I have been influencing. Get a raucous round of emojis for Yiz and everybody like Yiz out there. Punch the air. Celebrate today. Set off fireworks. These are people taking up verbiage that enables white people to defend themselves everywhere they are without ever reading any of our so-called white sympathetic philosophers or political thinkers or any of that nonsense.
Yeah, Halo, you are exactly right. CRT is responsible for movements like this. This is a direct backlash to critical race theory. This is what this is. But there's another clip. Hang on. Let's listen to this one too.
First Amendment, Second Amendment, constitutional rights people, anti-white, even politicians and the like, using anti-white, saying that they're not anti-white. You never got them to say this kind of stuff before, and you never will, being a troglodytic jackass in your backwater nonsense in every one of these fetid pools around the internet, who want to blame and smear and shame and smear and say, you're not purity spiraling well enough into ant-nat nitwittery. What you need to be doing is holding rallies where a bunch of men shout racial epithets. That will make the day come when we recapture our destiny. BS. You're never going to speak to those people. You're never going to march in any streets and control any cities. You are a fool if you think otherwise. We are changing the world. And people like Yiz, she is at the forefront of that. And if you don't like it, it's because you are a loser. Outdo her if you don't like it. God bless Yiz and everyone else who's making it happen. Nathaniel, Naderific, Jared George. We can go down the list on and on for people who are changing the world, using the dialectics that matter.
Using the dialectics that matter is the way to change the world. That's what he just said there. Mark, yelling is used to demonstrate emotion, and an emotion is taken to be truer to reality by these irrationalists. Yep. In this clip, okay, now we're getting in. We got a couple more clips. We got a couple more clips to go, and then I'm going to give you guys some final thoughts, and then I might take some questions. We might do some call-ins. If any of Jason's minions want to tell him we're getting close to call-ins, if he would like to join, just let him know. Because I know you guys are all watching. I know you've all downvoted my video. By the way, guys, mount that like button to counterbalance all of the white positivity people who are watching this right now, who are seething. And the reason they're not piling into my chat is because I've blocked a lot of them. I blocked thousands of these people. They can't chat at me. You can't chat at me. Ha ha. All right, we got a couple more clips. In this clip, Jason discusses infiltrating the anti-CRT movement specifically. He responds to me. So listen, Jason, so like in the course of doing this research, I kind of got a little bored. And so I started baiting Jason. I started baiting him through like videos and tweets and posts on Gab. And so eventually he started responding to me. And in his responding to me, I actually got, he basically, like, I think he got scared. And so he kind of thought, maybe if I just preempt this and I just say that I'm actually doing all these things that she's figured out that I'm doing, I can preempt the disaster that's about to happen and the poisoning of the well that she's about to do with me in these anti-CRT groups. So he started responding to me. Jason discusses infiltrating the anti-CRT movement specifically. He responds to me throughout this clip, confirming they are going into anti-CRT groups on Facebook, while taking umbrage at the notion that they're infiltrating. He also specifically notes that while they're going into these groups, they're posting mundane information that will not turn people against us. Although they occasionally show their hand, most of the tactics they use in these groups take a very soft approach to selling group members on the movement. Just like in Scientology, they aren't exposed to the true nature of it until they are in it. That they were really bad people. That he is not aligned with the conservative movement or the Republicans or anything like that. He's not on the left or the right.
Okay, she's right there. We're not in their false spectrum. We're outside of their story.
They're a third thing.
I'm going to try to speed her up a little bit. I'm not speeding her up to make her sound bad, but because we don't have all night.
And what they're doing is they're trying to infiltrate the anti-CRT movement.
All right, we're not. She is viewing this from the position that she is the center of the universe. What a surprise! So that's why she sees it as an infiltration of the. Rory, we can have you call. How long are you going to be able to be up? Let me know. But she views it as an infiltration of the CRT movement because she thinks that she's the center of the universe, and she's not. Big surprise. Although she probably does have a lot of gravitational pull, but she views it that way. The reality is that we are combating anti-whiteism wherever it exists. So we are going to be talking about, and the great champions and the outreach teams and all of us working independently together, whatever it might be, are going to be speaking about all of this endeavor to manipulate white people into having sex with non-white people and guilting white people into having sex with non-white people.
Doesn't that seem like a weird thing to just insert there? Like guilting white people into having sex with non-white people. Okay.
Because they are not, they don't want to be a sexual racist or whatever it might be. So we're going to be talking about that as well. So I'm sure the people over there who are white Republicans or conservatives, or Carlin is not white, I understand. But
he said that because they think I'm a Jew.
Whoever they might be sitting in a gate, they're going to freak out when they see our people show up and we start teaching all of these whites who are Westmen, men and women, who are pinned up in these great big pins by Republicans, conservatives, and standing at the gates. When we show up and we begin telling them about the truth of anti-whiteism, they're going to freak out and they're going to say, oh, they're trying to infiltrate they just came into existence because we are the center of the universe. And so these folks just came into existence and now they're going to try to take over what we're doing. I mean, it really shows this solipsistic, myopic, and she does wear glasses, neuropathy. She's like neurotic. She's to view herself and this little endeavor of hers as the center of the universe, very childish.
In order to basically like recruit people to their movement. But what they're doing is they're going into anti-CRT groups on Facebook, and I have all the evidence of this. We're going to be publishing it next week. And they're trying to target people when they're afraid and
No, this verbiage right here, targeting people when they're afraid and confused. This, of course, is to mislead. This, of course, is to misrepresent. You misrepresent for some obvious reasons. So if she wanted to be legitimate, which she won't, she would be telling people what we actually say, because what we actually say she hates, but she knows that what we actually say is not enough to turn people against us, or at least to turn enough. I mean, maybe the really crazy, ass sniffing of, every poodle or boxer dog that walks down the street kind of a person, maybe that person she'll be able to turn against us, but based on what we say. But the average, even anti-white, are not going to be able to, all right, thanks, Rory, are not going to be able to, I don't know, we might not make 30 minutes. Keep an eye on it, brother. But if not, then you're first next week. Might not be able to run them off unless she chucks in that, oh, they're targeting people who are scared and confused. And then they come in and manipulate them. So what a crock of, in other words, what we do is we show up in forums, we show up on live streams, and we share the truth. We tell people what's going. We give people our opinion. Here she says, and again, putting the lie to her position, that she's for free speech. She'll say this all. People can say whatever they want, except silence these ones. So we show up and we share our opinions. These different.
When they say I'm not against free speech, is because I block people. By the way, Jason does too. We have video of him blocking people. He has blocked many of my supporters. So he's a hypocrite on top of being whatever you guys judge him to be.
Places, the digital town square of the 21st century. We show up there and we share our opinion. We share with the water cooler. She even talks about somewhere about hearing it in person. That's where she was hearing it at first.
Yep.
We're sharing our views because we're tired of being victimized. You got it?
You got it? George Andre Velasco Nunez to Jason. No, she doesn't. I think you're referring to see myself as the center of the universe. No, she doesn't. Not everyone is as self-centered as you. By the way, Dr. K, to finish your idea from the other day, he lost his virginity in his 20s when he could afford it. Yep, that's probably right. And if you are in an anti-CRT group on Facebook, chances are they are too. Check this out. For those who think that this is just small little people in onesie or twosie groups, just a couple of people, listen to what he has to say. Not any of those things. And if you hear the phrase CRT is anti-white,
yeah,
that's coming from them.
Yes. She's so right.
This is why I've always...
This is where I agree with her. When she talks about how it's coming from us and how smart we are, 100% agreement with, if I want to say, and I do want to say something, even people I don't like, I want to say something nice about. So I will say that every now and again, in occasions like these, Carlin has flashes of brilliance.
Been so against using the anti-white language. They are purposefully trying to advance their ideology and their agenda by influencing language and influencing culture.
That's right. Fantastic. Another moment of brilliance.
And starting next week, we are going to start releasing information about exactly what they're doing so that all of you know exactly what to look at, because I have found them in probably a dozen different groups. Jason basically makes sounds like he's having an orgasm anytime he responds. He's like, oh, yes.
Found us in a dozen different groups. She personally.
On Facebook at this point.
Yeah.
Posting. And they post it so slickly. It's not like they come in and they say.
We are in more than a dozen groups. And we're spreading like the curative contagion that we are.
Do you want to join a white well-being group? That's not what they do. They're taking advantage of people who are just learning about critical race theory, just getting involved.
She says they don't go in there and say, hey, do you want to get into white well-being? They go in there and they say, hey, you know what? This program, it's victimizing white people. It's anti-white. Yeah, because that's what it is. That's what's happening. It's white erasing us from they can look at the textbooks and they can see the race of people being victimized. And then people show up, champions, real heroes show up, and then they give them concepts for what they can see with their own eyes.
Okay, guys, that's all the clips we're going to watch of Jason. You made it. Congratulations. You made it. We're done. We're not watching any more clips. But I do have a few final closing thoughts. And, oh, wait, no, here before we go. And, there's this. We don't believe it requires much explanation. Mark Collette, a friend of Jason's, is a British neo-Nazi. David Duke is the former leader of the KKK. Here's Jason on a show with a British neo-Nazi and David Duke. I'm just saying, if you judge people by the company they keep, British neo-Nazi, David Duke. I'm just saying. Fundamentally, we believe that everyone should be able to believe whatever they want. Protecting the rights of the most, dare we say, deplorable people is the only way to protect free speech for the rest of us. It is not our contention that any of these individuals are doing anything illegal, and we're not worried about these groups succeeding culturally any more than we're worried about Antifa getting their anarcho-communist state. We do not believe their success is a realistic possibility. However, any connection these people have with the anti-CRT movement is toxic to the movement. For this movement to be successful, we must clearly distance ourselves from these individuals, an effort that should not be too difficult, given they have much more in common with the woke left than they have with us. George Andre Velasco Nunez, just a small group of people, the same way just a small group of college students who will know better once they get into the real world. Be careful. That is exactly right. That's exactly right. Do you guys think Antifa are a big group of people? They're not. Probably around the same as this. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put the link for call-ins into the channel. Now, I'm going to finish up reading this article, but if anyone would like to call into the channel, Jason, If anyone would like to call into the channel and talk to me about their beliefs and tell us all who you really are, they can use the link that I'm going to put into the chat right now. Now, anyone can call in. So you guys that have been watching this for the past almost 2 hours, you are welcome to call in and we can have a conversation about what you think about all of this. Am I making this up? Am I crazy? Is there a problem here? Anyone can call in, talk about what they want to talk about. I'll review the rules for call-ins in a second, but I'm just going to get the link in the chat. There's the link in the chat. Everyone can call in. I'll pin that to the top of the chat. This is only on YouTube, guys. So if you're watching on Rockfin or Odyssey or Facebook, you'll have to come to YouTube. All right, let's see what to do with this information. We understand that this will be a disturbing revelation for many, but that does not mean it's not a necessary revelation. It is not a pleasant reality to consider, but it is reality nonetheless. Here are some ways we encourage you to utilize this information. Speak up if you see them. We've shown you what to look for in this piece to give you the tools to easily identify the nefarious actors you might encounter when fighting back against CRT. If you notice one of them posting in a group you are in, notify the group's moderators immediately. If you notice them engaging with people in the group, speak up and tell them to buzz off. They are not welcome there. And share this information with people in groups you are in to help them understand. Guys, please share this article with everyone you know that is fighting critical race theory. Please share this article so that people know what is going on. Number 2, don't use their language. We don't want to be the language police. You have to make your own choices about the language that you use. However, given what you know at this point in the article, if you insist on using the term anti-white to describe CRT, you are purposefully aligning yourself with very bad people. When language is the primary weapon the enemy is using, stop using their language. There is no reason to use the term anti-white when referring to critical race theory, and every time you do, you are handing the people in this article a win for their cause. Critical race theory is racist. It is racist against everyone, whether they be white, black, Latino, Asian, Native American, biracial, etc. There is no form of racism that is more important than any other form of racism. If you want to achieve a colorblind or color indifferent world, then use the language that aligns with that ideal. Just say critical race theory is racist and call it a day. Number 3, change the topic to social emotional learning. Critical race theory isn't about race at all. It's about power. The more we start discussing it in that context, the more ridiculous the anti-white narrative Jason tries to sell will look. However, we have a far bigger problem to worry about than CRT in schools anyway. Social emotional learning. This is a movement that has been co-opted by educators to break down the defenses of students as a way to indoctrinate them into the woke left ideology. And guys, I highly recommend that you watch that video that I've linked in this article when you get a chance, because social emotional learning is terrifying. Yes, the discussion regarding CRT is important, but it is not the end-all be-all of the problems we are facing. The battle we are engaged in is far bigger than race. Hang on. It is for the soul of our nation. And if you don't want people to use dialogue about race as a weapon, then just change the topic. Why give these people attention? Some might argue that these people are not worth giving attention to, or that we shouldn't discuss this problem because it might drive more people to them. We disagree. By this logic, we would never publicly discuss groups like Antifa or even Black Lives Matter, and yet those groups are discussed every day in the open. We do not distinguish between these groups and the white positive movement. The question has never been if a movement like this would develop. It was a matter of when. If you have an extreme ideology that pushes too far in one direction, as the woke left have done, then you will inevitably have an ideology that comes around to push back. The answer to the problem is not to ignore what's going on and pretend it doesn't exist. Daylight, as they say, is the best disinfectant. This white positivity movement is the inevitable backlash against critical race theory. Although Jason has been working on it since 1994, we can plainly see that the realities of the past several years have allowed him to gain traction as a result of the anger and outrage that has been generated by critical race theory and the woke ideology. If we fail to address it when it's still in its relatively early stages, then we are setting ourselves up for crisis down the road. We ignored critical race theory for 40 years, and now it influences every major institution in this country. How'd that strategy work out for us? The reality is they're doing it in the open anyway. The reason this matter hasn't come to light yet, despite Jason's terminology and book being in public circulation for a considerable amount of time, is that there seems to be a concerted editorial aversion in right-leaning media to acknowledging anything that may give up ground to the woke left. Additionally, a disproportionate amount of journalists believe that if it doesn't take place on Twitter, it never happened. However, the going free lexicon is rife on that platform, with many adopting it day by day, even the very media outlets which should have taken notice of this a long time ago. Jason brags about his beliefs publicly every single day. He doesn't hide them, he doesn't sugarcoat them. His organizing is done very publicly. Ultimately, all it takes to report on what he's doing is a computer and an internet connection. There's no magic, just effort. The lack of media attention to this matter, which was publicly accessible, only provided greater legitimacy to Jason's movement. Parents in the anti-CRT groups had no concept of just how toxic the term anti-white was, and some even ended up adopting the term into their vocabulary, acting as an unintentional signal booster for Jason's propaganda. This movement preys on people when they are confused, vulnerable, and provides them with easy answers for their anger and frustration. It sets us all on a dangerous path that only ends badly. The media failed their audience by neglecting to inform them. And before you think we're being too harsh, remember that right-leaning media lifted up Daniel Kincannon without the slightest bit of research into who he was or his motives for writing that letter of resignation, all because he owned the libs. They put him on air and gave him exactly what he wanted: the opportunity to spread his anti-white message to millions. Do better, journalists. It is your responsibility to keep the public informed, not to report what's trending on the Twitter sphere. And then, guys, just a nice ask at the end. Both Kieran and I are funded by you guys. We didn't get paid to do this research. So if you appreciated the work that we're doing, please consider joining our locals communities as supporters. We appreciate that. And we want to keep doing it. We're going to keep working on it. All right. We have 2 callers for call-in so far. We have Giorgio and we have Robert. I don't see Jason yet. I don't see him. The Brooklyn Way says this guy takes the gold in the Chode Olympics for the best pedantic rage. Sadly, it prop started when he realized no Vassar girl would ever date him. I like it. All right, guys, I want to do rules for call-ins real quick before we get started, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Now, anyone can call in if you are a member of the white positivity movement, or if you're leading the white positivity movement. Maybe you man up, you find your balls, you click the link at the top of the chat right now, and you call in, because you're allowed to. You can call in and have a conversation with me. Here's how it works. Rule number 1 for call-ins: you are an invited guest on the stream. I reserve the right to boot your ass at any time and for any reason. Rule number 2, be polite. You don't have to like me. You can be really pissed at me right now. But if you're polite, you have a significantly lower chance of being unexpectedly booted from the stream. Number 3, each caller who follows the first 2 rules will get approximately 5 minutes, unless we're having a really interesting conversation. That is purely at my discretion. But generally it goes like a small conversation, because we're probably going to have multiple call-ins, and then we move on. All right, let's get started. We have 3 call-ins in the queue right now: Giorgio, Robert, and Tyson. Giorgio, you're up first. Hello.
Hi, Carlin.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'd just like to say I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I used to be subscribed to No White Guilt and Yes the
Really?
Eunuch, but because of you, I unsubscribed.
Thank you. Now, don't tell me about this though. Like, how did you find him, and like, what was compelling that made you subscribe to him?
Well, I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. I think I might have found Yes the Eunuch before, and maybe I found it through there. And I guess I interpreted at the time that these people are just people who say like it's okay to be white, and I had no idea like how deep it was. Like it was kind of ambiguous. And I remember one time someone in their chat like posted a website link to some books, and one of them had to do with the composer Wagner, that certain person with the letter H likes. And I was thinking, that's a little iffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you actually calling in and saying that, because I think you're demonstrating exactly what my big concern is that if you look at it on the surface level, it really does look like, and I'll admit, when I kind of first, I became aware of this guy before they attacked me in June, but it was kind of like, I saw him and I was like, oh, it's kind of like one of those okay to be white things. But I didn't really look at it. I didn't look into it. I didn't follow him at all. So I completely understand. And I think that that's actually one of the most nefarious things about this entire thing is it presents to be one thing, and then you get into it and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah, and I think what's the most convincing for something like this is the left calling everything racist and white supremacist. So you might end up going somewhere that's like, oh, they only say that because they say everything's racist, and then you end up being like maybe too open-minded.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I you know what? I think that this is entirely a problem that the woke left has created. I do. And I understand why conservatives and Republicans and MAGA people might be like, Carlin, they're not real racists. Like, I completely get it. And that's why I really wanted to like lay out all the clips and to show people from their mouth exactly what they think, because it's not good. It really isn't. And it's not something that conservatives should want to align with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add for today?
I don't know. It was just being spontaneous, and I wanted to mention at least that.
Well, I appreciate that, Giorgio. You're always a great supporter. I see you in chat all the time, and I'm really glad that you saw the light and got out of there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. We'll talk again soon.
See ya.
Bye. All right. Let's see. All right. We have Robert, we have Tyson, and we have the Catalyst. Robert, welcome to the stream.
Thank you. It's actually nice to be here. Thank you, by the way, for convincing me to join the Mises Caucus.
Yay!
Yay!
You like the Mises Caucus?
Yeah, Mises Caucus of Florida. So West Central, yes.
Love it. They control Florida. They're holding the fort down.
Yeah. I joined the Discord and everything. I'm really excited to get everything moving here. I'm also going to join with the be a delegate here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I want to be a delegate too, but I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to Reno either way. I'm going either way. I would really like to be a delegate, but if it doesn't work out, I'm still going.
It's fine. But yeah, no, I'm getting some. This is it's creepy because I'm getting some serious like Jim Jones vibes from this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Or David Koresh, actually.
Yeah.
That's another one.
What was it about him, do you think, that gave you Jim Jones vibes?
The his animated nature, his tendency to scream into like the camera, like that's what you see, what you expect of your proper cult leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and the whole, well, thank you, brother. I'm like, yeah, I'm not your.
They call each other brother and sister.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
That's legit cult language.
You know what else they do? They greet each other with hail.
Yeah, hail. Yeah. Oh, and one other thing that kind of I found interesting, if they don't think that the Holocaust happened, why did we fight World War II?
I think that would be a pretty good question for Jason, and hopefully Jason calls in and we can ask him that question.
Oh, yes, definitely. Because honestly, a whole world war happened. And if that didn't happen, then what the hell happened between 1921 and 1945?
Isn't it crazy to think about how those three gentlemen that we saw at the beginning were, they all worked in schools. They all worked in public schools.
Yeah, that's why. Because public school is kind of crappy like that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything else on your mind for today, Robert?
Nope, just wanted to say thank you and actually give a voice to the face, because I've been talking to you for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you called in. It's nice
Yes.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
And hopefully I'll see you on a future call-in.
Oh, yes, definitely. Be looking for it.
All right. Well, enjoy Florida. Enjoy the Mises Caucus, Robert. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Call-ins are going great so far. I know I have some white positive people that are watching right now. I know you guys have been downvoting my video the whole time. You've been scrambling because you can't chat in. You're welcome to call in though. The link is pinned to the top of the channel. Anyone can call in too. You can be a non-white positive person and call in as well. And so the link is at the top of the channel. Right now we just have Tyson and we have Catalyst. Tyson, you're up, and it is fine that you don't have a video camera. That's okay.
All right, is my mic working?
Yeah, your mic sounds great.
Excellent. Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate what you're doing. You've got a hell of an uphill fight ahead of you. Culture doesn't make U-turns; it slides for quite a while. Yeah, I got a brother who's like into CRT, and I'm on the other side. And it's funny because I'm Canadian. He grew up in the States,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the one that actually showed me like a lot of the ways media started to manipulate things, the details they leave out, and so when I noticed the most trusted name in news start doing the same thing, I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Oh, yeah, I know, it's crazy. And I mean, honestly, one of the things, and we touched on it at the end of the article, it was like the fact that the media hasn't covered any of this has really made me angry, to be very honest with you.
There was I must have been about 15 years ago now. There was actually a German bloke who was held in a concentration camp as a prisoner. Apparently they didn't like his evangelical work. But yeah, I got to ask him, how the heck did someone like Hitler get power? Like, why did no one stop what was going on? And I'll never forget his answer. He said, "We didn't know." I
Yeah.
was like, how do you not know? It's like, well, who do you think bought all the newspapers and radio shows? It's like, yeah, but there must have been some holdouts. It's like, you think they were in business for long? It's like, holy shit. And I always thought the internet had made that impossible to happen again, but it's getting a lot closer than I'd like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really scary because I mean, I'm a little hard line in this. I believe that the only responsibility that journalists have is to tell the truth.
Yeah,
That's it.
I still remember Don Lemon's "I do" point of view, not opinion. It's like, sir, I've seen you cry on your show.
Yeah.
That's not a professional journalist.
No, not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. So what did you think of some of the stuff that we watched today?
Oh, I always knew it was out there, but I didn't have the stomach to get that deep into it. So seeing it on your show actually made it a lot easier to digest and not just like get really pissed off about it. But yeah, I know it's there and I know it's growing because identitarian groups will just feed off each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, like we said in the article, like if these guys had just kind of like stayed off in their own little corner and did their thing, we wouldn't be as concerned about this. But when they're coming and trying to like infiltrate and co-opt a movement that is very important, that's when we have to start speaking up and say no.
Yeah, like you see, I remember that video is going like, "We are the original." It's like, yes, but you didn't get anywhere because people didn't want what you were selling.
Yeah.
People don't want special privileges just for themselves. Well, most people, I should say, they want actual equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so keep up the good fight.
Thank you, Tyson. I appreciate it. Anything else for today?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining for Collins. We'll talk again soon. All right. Well, we only have one more call in for right now. And hang on, I'm just gonna check my mic setting real quick because I think I'm kind of loud. Hang on, because I had to adjust the mic volume. But we have Catalyst now. If anyone else at all wants to call in and prove his manhood, they're welcome to by following the link pinned to the top of the chat. But for right now, we will welcome the Catalyst.
I am the Catalyst. Hey
Aha.
there.
Hello.
Ooh, I
What would
really
you like to
don't
talk
get
about?
how it is.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, is my mic working?
Yes, you're good.
Can you
You're
hear
good.
me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. What I don't get is how could they say that something that claims that people of color are essentially incapable of doing, how do I word this? Understanding things or basically acting for themselves. How can they call that anti-white?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly why I have always called critical race theory racist, because it impacts every single group, and I think there can be I do not agree with the woke left's definition that there can't be racism towards white people. I think there absolutely can be racism towards white people, and so I think calling critical race theory racist covers all the different groups.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it's sort of like how Black Lives Matter sounds exclusionary, anti-white is exclusionary too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But the thing of it is they only care about and it's not even that they don't really care about the impact it has on white people. They're using it as a recruiting mechanism, right? So if they acknowledge the impact that critical race theory has on every other group of people out there, then they can't use it as a recruiting tool. And that's what they don't really care about critical race theory at the end of the day. They just care about advancing their agenda.
By the way, sorry if you can hear the video game in the background. My friend, I told him I was coming on, but he's like, I gotta beat Bowser.
Well, I mean, that's okay. I understand their priorities. Like, you can't just pause a video game in the middle of it. You got to finish it. Come on.
Oh, he's playing one of the Mario games, and he's on the final Bowser fight.
Is it like an old Mario game or a new Mario game?
Super Mario 64.
Oh.
That's from '96.
That's a pretty old Mario game. I have a Nintendo Switch that I basically only got to play like Super Mario Brothers 2. That's like the only actually I played all the I played like all the old school NES ones, but Super Mario Brothers 2 was always my favorite.
But yeah, that's why you're hearing sounds in the background, because you just couldn't pause it for a few minutes. But
yeah, that's all right.
Oddly enough, my friend here actually.
It's not. It doesn't come up too much on the mic. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, before I go, because you're someone I look up to a lot, and I've come across this on forums a lot whenever I brought it up. I'm a fan of something called Focus on the Family Radio Theater, which is an audio drama series.
Okay.
And apparently Focus on the Family is known for saying less than stellar things about LGBTQ things, and I get demonized for enjoying the Chronicles of Narnia, like their radio theater version. And I'm blind, so I can't read the print.
Yeah, I mean, I have never had a high opinion of Focus on the Family, but like, you like what you like. Don't apologize for liking what you like, you like what you like.
And I get told I'm transphobic just because I gave a good review of the radio drama of the Chronicles of Narnia, just because of the fact Focus on the Family made it. And I'm like, well, I never mentioned that I agreed to Focus on the Family. I said that I liked the performances of the actors and the sound design in that.
Then you didn't do anything wrong. You did absolutely nothing wrong, and you have nothing to worry about. And don't listen to what other people say. Listen, what other people think of you is none of your business.
Like this series I got from a late relative of mine 15 years ago. So I've enjoyed it since I was a child.
Yeah. So don't apologize for it. Don't listen to these people. Don't ever let someone else make you feel bad. If you feel good about something, then go with that.
It is hard though, because I want to recommend it to people, but then they insist that I join their little boycott, and I'm like, I don't agree with what they're saying about LGBTQ people. I don't agree with it. I just like their radio drama.
Well, then you know what? It's like, I think that people today are so tribal, and if anyone steps
They
Yeah, they
can't
can't
separate
separate.
the art from the artist.
Exactly. Well, I don't think you have anything to apologize for, and maybe if you show them that, they will let you know that, just show them who you are. Just show them who you are. And
Mhm.
it doesn't, and if they accept you, great. And if not, that's okay too, because there are a world of people out there that will accept you for just who you are and what you like and not worry if there are disagreements. There's so many people out there that will, not even worry about if you like the Chronicles of Narnia just because it happened to be related to something Focus on the Family did.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
it's like Focus on the Family made the radio dramas, but what they did is they had a bunch of British actors record all the lines in that and do the sound design.
yeah.
Like they funded it, but the sound house is the company that actually is behind it.
Well, like I said, like what you like and don't apologize to other people for liking what you like. There's something out there for everyone. Catalyst, I have to move on for tonight, but is there anything else you want to say before we conclude?
No, but thank you for telling me that, because I wanted to get your input on it since I first heard about you last year.
Absolutely. Be true to yourself. That's all you can do. And trust that there will be people who love you just for the way you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Have a good night, my friend, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a whole bunch of call-ins now. We have Greg Allen, we have Boom, we have Schwan, we have Retro Christ, and we have Harold Rand. So we're going to go in that order. Greg Allen, welcome to the stream.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, my stream.
Sure.
I was just wondering, like, has it occurred to anyone here? I know that everyone's like anti-critical race theory or whatever, but has it occurred to anyone here that maybe the white supremacists aren't really like co-opting anti-critical race theory? Maybe they like kind of invented it. Like, it seems interesting that a lot of white people are here complaining that like white supremacists are co-opting their anti-racism movement. But it's like, who did you think was going to join you?
Well,
Like,
but I think what we illustrated pretty clearly here is that the white positivity movement has significantly more in common with the people that are advancing CRT than they do with the anti-CRT movement. So they can go join the people who are promoting CRT. We have no problem with that. We just want them the F out of our movement.
well, it's true they're identitarians and they believe in identity politics, which is obviously, it is truly a dead end. But I wonder if when the anti-critical race theory movement is about stopping the teaching of like multiple points of view.
No,
That's what
it's
they
not
want
about
too.
that. No, they don't want that. They want it taught from an objective point of view, which if you look at the law that was proposed in New Hampshire, there's a specific section that says general provisions that says that teachers can teach anything as long as they teach it from an objective point of view. So the anti-critical race theory movement is not in favor of inhibiting free speech, although teachers in public schools do not have the right to free speech. That's been ruled on by the Supreme Court. But the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of the anti-CRT laws have specifically said you can teach anything you want as long as it's being taught from an objective perspective.
Right. I mean, objectivity is kind of a joke, I guess. I mean, that's like some old-fashioned idea that
We don't believe that.
Does anyone really believe that there's any such thing as an objective
Yes.
teacher?
Yes.
But that's absurd. Everyone brings their point of view.
It is not a teacher's job to influence students. Teachers are employees of the state. Kids are compelled by the state to. It is not a teacher's job to influence. No, I said it is not a teacher's job to influence the politics of students. Teachers are employees of the state. They are state employees. They do not have free speech when it comes to teaching in public schools.
What about when they teach about like Squanto and George Washington? You don't think that's influencing people politically? You don't think
No,
that
I don't. As long
education
if they're actually teaching what happened, then no, I don't. Sorry, no.
Do you really not think that state education is not state-sponsored education? What do you think is going on in
I literally
public
just
schools?
said it was state-sponsored education. I literally just said that.
That's what I mean. So how can it be objective? It's pro-American jingoistic colonialism.
Because the teachers are ultimately the ones that are deciding what to teach in the classroom. Now, when we have teachers that are putting pictures of Mao on the wall and fuck the police signs in the classroom, they do not have to do that in order to teach about George Washington.
That just seems like saying a picture of Mao or a fuck the police sign is in a classroom. I would like to know where that really happened. That happened
in Nonomus, California. That happened outside of Sacramento. They literally have photos of it. They literally have
call
it.
bullshit.
A teacher literally got fired for this, dude. This is not even controversial. A
I just think
teacher
you should
in
expect
Notimus,
as you continue.
California. Okay. We're
I think you should expect as you
end this because you're not being polite. And I said anyone could come on my channel as long as they were being polite. But if you're not going to be polite, you don't get to stay on my channel and argue with me, especially when you're not a leftist. Like, don't tell me there's no such thing as objective reality when you are freaking denying objective reality on the damn channel. All right, moving on. We have Boom, we have Retro Chris, we have Sarah, Dan, Gray, Wonder Wolf, Harold, Becky, and Schwan in that order. Boom, welcome to the channel.
Hi, Carlin.
Hello.
Just want to say hello, give you a quick shout out. Join her locals. It's awesome. It really, really is awesome. It's the greatest thing.
Why do you like my locals, Boom? Give me a good plug.
The best thing is our bitch and stitch sessions where we not only sit there and mount that like button, mount it. Not only do we sit there and work on knitting, crocheting, art, we get to talk about whatever the hell we want to. There's nobody there to tell us we can't talk about it. There's no YouTube to cut us off or lock us out and tell us you guys are the wrong kind of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll do a crafting bitch this weekend. I need to schedule a crafting bitch.
Yeah, if we do it on Sunday.
All right, we can do that. We'll do one on Sunday.
But I just wanted to point out that, one of the things that absolutely amazes me is some of these white supremacist clowns that are pushing and trying to take over CRT to turn it into a white power movement have unbelievably small penises.
They do, don't they? It's like predictable.
It's like they climbed up on to the level of their stupidity and they jumped straight down to their IQ and their dick size.
They overcompensated. They overshot.
So hard.
And it's like you can tell they're compensating for something. You're like, this is something I was saying to Karen. I was like, this is all because he couldn't get girls in school. This is all because of that.
These and seeing the pictures of some of these guys, they literally are the ones that even the nerdy girls like me, I mean, it's very quiet and shy. I would just stay the hell away from them because the creep factor is just phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. And it's like, and it's like once you see them too, right? Isn't like I have smudged so much in the past couple weeks just from having to watch these videos because it's creepy, isn't it?
It's gross. It's just like, I mean, come on, it's 2021. Get it over with. The whole white power thing went out of style so many freaking years ago.
Yeah.
So many years ago. I mean, it's like 1950 white power bullshit. Yeah, it might have been a thing then. It's not now. The Democrats who were pushing that shit, they changed it from white power to black power because they weren't getting anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time to just be kind, be polite, and stop judging people by the color of their skin.
It is the only way forward. If we just see each other as human beings and what we have to offer and not having any preconceived notions about, what anyone thinks or feels or does. I mean, it's just, it is mind-boggling to me that we are in this situation right now. And we're getting it from both sides. And it's like, I feel like I'm like a sane person surrounded by crazy people.
And, I think the most important thing that people don't have lost track of is regardless of somebody's religious beliefs, regardless of somebody's political beliefs, just find one thing, one common, fun, entertaining thing to just sit down and talk about for 20 minutes. And you would be amazed at how it's going to change your life and how it's going to change their life.
Maybe if we get together a collection and we buy Jason a hooker, like it.
I would not want to terrorize a hooker. I know we'd have to pay her a lot of money to pretend that he has a big penis.
We would. She would put on a big show. I could totally feel it, Jason. All right, Boom. Anything else for today?
Nope. Mucho love. Mount the
Thank
like
you.
button.
Love you. Thank you so much. All right. I love my locals. I love my locals so much, guys. If you want to join my locals, kb.locals.com. Also, make sure you join Kieran's locals. Kieran was my partner in crime for this entire endeavor. I wish he were here, but he is sick. And we will be doing a stream together soon, and you'll get to learn from him because he is so much better at explaining this stuff than I am. All right, Retro Chris, you're up. Welcome to the stream.
I originally jumped on here because you didn't have any callers, and I thought if anybody is a former theater kid and knows the term vamping, I was going. That's when you eat up a little time with your little song or dance until things that are going wrong backstage resolve themselves. I was just going to waste a little time to see if anybody interesting came along, but here I am, and there's more callers. So that being said, I'm just going to be brief, but what amazes me is anytime we reduce race, skin color to a binary, like black and white, we lose so much of the texture and the nuance and what makes us interesting. As far as, there's very difference, as we know, between somebody who, say, considers themselves African American, their ancestors were here for a while, and somebody from Trinidad who are both considered black. Or my husband, whose family is from Eastern European farmers, and my part of my family who's been here for 300 years, and part of my family has not been here for 300 years. And the culture, the difference in the upbringing, the culture, the food, the philosophy of all those groups, and they're all considered white, is just so rich. And we're losing that black, white, whatever, by just reducing us to, hey, you're black, you're over here, and you're white, you're over there.
Yeah,
and,
I absolutely agree. And it's like one of the saddest things to me about people in this movement is if you only find pride in the things you can't control, I just don't understand that. There is, I do appreciate that it seems like he's building people up. It's a good thing to have self-esteem, but he's building them up in really destructive, toxic ways. And it's only going to come back to bite these people in the long run, especially they're eventually going to realize what a fraud this guy is or what I suspect he is. And it's going to destroy them.
Well, I think a lot of them maybe like your one caller there. Forgive me, I don't remember his name now, but sort of wander into it. This little nugget sounds good, so okay, I'll subscribe. And they're not bad people. They just heard that one little nugget. They thought, this sounds okay. And until it doesn't sound okay, they'll hang out there, And probably a lot of people that are subscribed to that, are kind of not really involved. And until they hear something really disturbing, they're going to kind of sit there. And hopefully those people who will wake up, might not convert the diehards, but those people who are just regular people kind of wandered into it because it sounded, had that one little nugget of truth, and then they subscribed to that and this and the other thing, and then forgot they subscribed to the newsletters. Hopefully those people will wake up, people who are more centrist about that. I really do.
I hope so too. And I mean, I think bare minimally at this point, we've kind of poisoned the well for him in terms of the anti-CRT groups, because they're all sharing this information now. So minimally, if people were going to be receptive to that in those groups, I hope that wakes them up, because I think there are still a lot of people that would say, what's wrong with the white well-being movement? Even Joshua, when I was explaining this whole thing to Joshua a couple weeks ago, he's like, Carlin, what's wrong with white well-being? I want white people to be well. And I said, Joshua, wait until you see what I'm talking about. And now he understands. I played Joshua the clip. He was like, I don't like him.
yeah, exactly. But, it's and the thing is that robs us of what is really in common between all of us. Because when you have, all this, pushing this, okay, black, white, CRT, things like that, you miss out on what we all have in common with each other, regardless of race. And the people that are my friends, black, white, in between, who cares, that I've been good friends with, is we had something in common, a common interest, something we were thrown together in a class, at work, whatever, and that's what makes you friends. And then that's why you appreciate the differences and diversities, when you have a commonality instead of dividing people right off the bat. But just one more point. You're talking about prostitutes and everything. I don't think that's a good idea. What I think is I think you should sit them in front of someone who has real problems in this world, like a parent whose child has cancer, or somebody who's coming over from China and they got their hand cut off because they had a Bible or whatever religious text they're not supposed to have. People with real problems. That instead of, people that just want to sit around behind their screen and agitate.
I think that's exactly right. And I think that that's good advice for everyone, right? I mean, if you think you've got problems, go talk to some people who have bigger problems than you, and it'll put everything in perspective.
Exactly. So, well, enjoy your callers. Hopefully a few interesting one has popped up.
We are hoping so. Thank you, Retro Chris. We'll talk soon. All right. Well, we've got a whole bunch of callers. Now I'm going to do my final call for call-ins, Jason, or Jason's Merry Men. Final call for call-ins. The link is in the top of the chat on my YouTube channel. Even if I've blocked you from commenting on my YouTube channel, you can still man up and click the link. Let's see how big your balls really are, dude. In the order that I have in right now, we have Sarah, we have Grey Wander Wolf, we have Becky, we have Dan, we have Schwan, we have Big Yosh. I will say, Becky, it looks like your devices are not connected, so you do need to connect a microphone in order to talk to me. So hopefully you can work that out by the time you get up to the queue, but you don't need to do video, but you do need to do a microphone. But right now, we'll welcome Sarah to the chat. Sarah.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Just one thing I have to say. kbs.local.com. Get on here, locals.
Thank you, Sarah.
So when the shit show happens and all of the big platforms come on, get on. I'm telling you. You won't get any information once that happens. Anyhow, I just wanted to sort of comment on the words that he used with Western thing, Western people.
Yeah.
It's false. The way he's using it's completely false. The fact is that white civilization is not based on color, it's based on philosophy. And when you look at people like Thomas Aquinas, who used St. Thomas Aquinas, sorry for the noise.
That's okay. That's all right.
Damn phone. I can't stand it. I want to get it. I want landlines. I hate cell phones. But the civilization is based on a philosophy. It's enlightenment. It's not this whole idea of whiteness and blackness and Asianness and whatever it is. We're all united. Yes, we do see the color of the skin, of course. But at the end of the day, what we're getting is something that's not, it's based on what we do and how we interact with individual people. It's not collective like these people are claiming. I mean, that's sorry to say to the white people here, the white supremacists, it's Marxism, honeys. It's not, it may not be, communism, but it's still Marxist belief, what you are promoting. And as a person who is a liberal, a classical liberal with a bit of a conservative bent, I don't agree with that at all, and it's, we need to start going back to that. Yes, we do need to look at the Judeo-Christian ethic that has been promoted and the Enlightenment as well, because if we don't, we're going to, as someone pointed out, I do think that there's potential that they're creating the war. We don't want the war. We actually want unity, so exactly. I need to go because I got a date with Deb Philman, so great gal. Get on to her, locals, if you're homeschooling as well.
All right, Sarah, well, say hi to Deb for me. We'll talk soon. All right. Well, we've lost a few people, but that means we have 3 callers left. Hey, you know what? I'll leave call-ins open just a minute more. Just in case some people find their courage. I'm just a little woman, guys. I'm not even white according to you. Like you surely you can come on my channel to a larger audience to tell people what's what. Surely you aren't complete and total pussies. Let's talk to Grey Wanderer Wolf, please.
Hi,
hey, Grey Wanderer. Hello.
It's a hot as hell day, irritated, and then I see this kind of stuff going on, and at least that cheers me up a little because it's just hilarious for the most part.
Why is it hilarious?
Because of how much history is repeating itself.
Yes.
or at least rhyming, where a bunch of elites are brainwashing a mass population to thinking that racism is okay.
Yeah. Isn't it frightening? And they're doing it on. It's like there are multiple populations who believe this is okay now.
Oh, and it's just how it's been. I mean, the Republican Party has always been the party of do-nothings. The Democratic Party has been the racist party. It's just how it's been. And since these parties has formed, and it seems almost like we're doomed to keep repeating this kind of crap unless we somehow learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's even integrated into their religions and cult-like behavior. Or, I mean, that was the Baptist Church way back when in the U.S. Civil War, preaching all about, slavery is the God-given right to the white man.
You know, I mean, it's just unfathomable to me that this is the reality that we are in. I like, there's a small part of me that kind of refuses to believe all of this is real. And because it's like, I never thought when I was growing up, I used to consume like extremist content when I was growing up, just because I was curious about like what types of people would be involved in these movements. And I did it thinking, I'm never going to have to worry about this. These people are in the fringes of society. They're never going to come back. And I'm not suggesting this is a huge movement, but like when you have the Democrats that are overtly racist, like all of them are overtly racist in a completely different way. And now you have these jokers. And it's just like, are there any normal people left?
Well, to be fair, I couldn't say because I was used to hanging out with the outcasts. And then I would come across these kind of people and shove them out, or at least leave them. And then I remember going onto forums and making fun of these kind of people. And I'm like, that was back in 2010 for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we are. It's like we never learn, right?
Nope.
Well, all we can do is fight for what we want and stand up for what we believe in and what's right, you know?
All we can do is look to our own.
That's it. We got to build our own communities now.
Homesteading for those who can do it. I highly suggest it.
Hey, I live in New Hampshire for a reason. I think there's lots of various, it's very libertarian here. You can be very libertarian if you want to be.
I wish there was any semblance of libertarianism here in California.
Oh, you're in California? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, dude, get the F out of there like yesterday. Where would you move if you could?
Believe me, I've tried.
Where would you move if you could?
Montana.
I get Montana. I've never been to Montana, and it looks so beautiful, and I would love to go sometime.
Neither have I. I really need to take a trip up there.
Yeah, it looks really, really, really lovely. Well, I'll cross my fingers for you, Gray Wanderwolf, that you get to Montana at some point.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Anything else for today?
I'll be honest, it's not really. Hey, but I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for talking.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for calling in. All right, moving on. We got some callers in the queue. We have Dan, we have Big Yosh, Schwan, Sequer, Tenebris, and we have Morgan. So Dan, welcome to the stream.
Hey.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're
okay,
good.
Cool. Just want to say thank you for your work. Been listening to you since the early thousands. I don't exactly remember what video, but I want to say thank you for pointing out a lot of the school stuff. I got a 4-year-old, about to be going into kindergarten.
Oh.
So I'm kind of being more wary about what my kid learns. Luckily, I'm in a state that's not completely and totally crazy, but I still have bad people representing me.
Yeah.
Well,
make sure you pay attention to those. Yeah, well, thank you, but make sure you pay attention to those school assignments, and it's okay for you to get in touch with the school, ask them what they're going to be teaching.
Most definitely. That's what I've been really thinking about. Now, my wife is really not that active as far as politics. So that's where I'm a little scared about, because I'm like, hey, this is kind of going on. She actually looked at me and she was like, well, I think CRT is okay. I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you know, one of the ways you can get her is by if your child happens to get assignments that look a little fishy, just slide them over to your wife to say, is this okay with you? Because a lot of people don't understand what CRT is.
And I tried to explain some of this to her, and she just looks at me as being over politically active and just getting crazy. I'm like, no, you don't understand what's going on. But when it gets to that point, we'll try and handle it. But I just want to really say thank you.
Thank you,
so
Dan.
far, my state, like I said, has been crazy. I'm in South Carolina.
Okay. I mean, that's good, but keep an eye out because you never know. And again, like 90% of teachers are pretty woke at this point. And so it's like, even if your principal's okay, even if your school board is okay, the teacher controls what is taught in the class. The school board doesn't control what's taught in class. And so just really be paying attention to those assignments that are coming home and make sure you do everything you can to find out as much as you can about what's being taught.
Will do.
All right. Well, good luck to you and your family. Is there anything else for today?
No, that's all.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You're welcome. All right. We've got Big Yosh, Schwan, Sequitur, Morgan, and then we have Becky at the end for the moment. I'm still waiting for someone from this white positivity movement. Guys, if you guys are so comfortable with talking about your stuff every single day online, I've been watching you for weeks. Is no one man enough to join the stream and have a simple conversation? I'm going to be polite to you. One of the rules is being polite. You got to be polite. Is no one man enough to stand up and defend what you guys are doing? Big Yosh, welcome to the channel.
Hey.
Hello.
I have a big grievance with I had a big grievance with how you described CRT being not being anti-white, but after watching this, I kind of have to agree that if the opposition is saying anti-white as a way to forward a narrative, I'm perfectly happy to give up the word.
Yeah, and I understand why people think CRT is anti-white. I totally get it, and it's like there are absolutely components that are against white people, but there are also components against Black people, like other races as well. And it's just like, there are ways. Even if people just change from saying even if people just say CRT is racist against white people, that is still better than saying CRT is anti-white because they really hate the term racist. They think it's an anti-white slur. They don't use it. So even just that simple shifting language, it means exactly the same thing to us, but it doesn't to them, and it doesn't further their agenda or their propaganda or their language.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with giving that up. The only thing I will say is it's important to kind of combat the narrative.
Yeah.
When they say that that it's anti-white, I would subvert that by just saying, I mean, I've said it in the chat, blood libel, Jewish term saying, you can look it up if you'd like to, basically saying the Jews were lied about. That's why they were persecuted. So it's kind of funny to put a Semitic term into their narrative where you're saying if you just, offer that one to them because then because it is true. I mean, it's more accurate and more descriptive of what's going on. And it has the added benefit of not being racial. It's not saying a narrative against Black people, it's saying a narrative against white people. Blood libel, it purely means that you are constructing a narrative off of the perceived sins or the lies or the actual actions of a group of people and then persecuting their children and their children's children because of this narrative.
I love that. I think that is an amazing suggestion. I love that it's Semitic because they're going to hate that so much. I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, ultimately, I think the ultimate is just to say CRT is racist because that is more reflective of like the ideal of like a colorblind society. But I love saying it's blood libel as well. I think it hits on the same tones. You might have to explain it to some people, but I think once you get down explaining it, I think it can be really effective. It's a great idea.
Well, yeah, the other thing that I've noticed is I think it's like two different groups that I've noticed in your chat room. There's the Nick Fuentes's type groups, and then there's also the racial identitarian type groups. And it's just like I mean, like I listened to the debate before, and they said something as laughable as Trump lost because he started bowing down to the um, liberal agenda. And my issue with that is like we got Mike Pence because of us bowing down to the Christian agenda. We
Yep.
got Ron Paul because we bowed down to the Christian agenda. We got, all these judges in and feckless and spineless because we bowed down to the Christian agenda. It seems that everybody who was Christian was bending Trump's ear and getting all these in name only Catholics in. And it's just like I'm so sick of that. It's just like if you want to know a grifter, it's like 50% of the people who say that they're Catholic hate the Catholic Church, and it's either because they're on the far left or the far right, and it's annoying to me just because it's like, well, then quit the Catholic Church after a while, or stop being a Mormon after a while. It's
I feel the same way about the GOP. GOP hates you. Stop voting for them.
well, it's got sad after a while with like I mean, like I'm a big labor guy. I love labor and I love family. I do not put my God in front of like what I think other people should do. I'll preach it, but I won't put my religious things in front of people. I think it would be very good if like voting was restricted to purely just people who could hold down a job.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that because I feel like that gets us into a scenario where people would stay in jobs that are awful for them just to be able to vote. And I don't think that that's healthy either.
Yeah, but like if it would definitely increase the labor. I mean, I come at this at the thing where I've had people in my life who are sympathetic to Marxists and stuff like that. And my thing is, I think that they're in name only. They don't care about the worker. They do not care about the worker.
No, of course they don't.
They care about the bureaucratics. They care about everything. And it's just like, anytime you point out, socialism, socialism or Marxism run amok here, they say, well, that's because of this greedy socialist. Well, if it's the greedy socialist, that, who are the people nowadays who point to the politician nowadays that you are betting are in name only socialists? Because come get those people out of the party if you want to do this socialist utopia. But really, it's annoying to me because any single time I ever talk to a Marxist, a socialist, they're all saying the same thing, which is, well, I'm for the worker, but I wouldn't go that far. And I do think that if you limited the voting population to purely the people who are family people and the people who are working people, I think you'd have a much better outcome. I think you'd have a much you would lower the minimum wage. We would, I think it'd be a lot better than what's going on now.
Well, I think Corporate Surf in the chat also brings up a good point where he says the establishment would be forcing people who don't support them out of work. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of problems with the idea. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate you coming on and expressing it. I think all ideas are worth expressing. I think we just don't agree on this particular occasion, but that's okay.
Right.
We're allowed to disagree.
All right. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank you for joining. All right. We've got Schwan, Sequitur, Morgan, and Becky, and I'm still waiting for crossing my fingers for some very special callers who are going to show us just how brave and manly and white positive they are. We'll see. Schwan, welcome to the stream. Hello? Hello? Schwan, I can't hear your voice. All right, Schwan, we're going to try you again in a second. We're going to skip over to... Oh, Schwan just left. All right. Well, Sequitur, you're up. Welcome to the stream.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just got on break.
Oh, yeah?
So I wanted to give you an idea of something to do. There was a movie that I had to watch in high school. It's called The Wave, I think. It came out in the 1970s.
I remember this movie.
It's actually public access. I've mentioned it to you a couple of times in super chats. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I believe I did, but okay, tell me more.
So I really think that it highlights a lot of what we're going through as a country and really globally right now. As far as just they're going after our kids. Yeah, and that movie did a lot more for me when I was in high school and staying away. I graduated in 2013, so it was right after BLM had started up. CRT was really starting to get kind of popular, but was still outcast. That movie kind of, for popularly used term now, it vaccinated me against a lot of the woke culture, and it's also kept me vaccinated away from a lot of the uh, uh, I really don't know what you want to call those guys you were showing earlier. Um, and I think
The bad
maybe,
people.
yeah. I don't know what terms might get you in trouble on YouTube, so I want to refrain from them. But I think you could probably do a breakdown because I know it's on YouTube because it was originally public access, the full movie. So you could probably do a stream and do a little breakdown of it. I think it'd be really neat to see. Uh, Possibly even get somebody like Adam Krigler on or somebody like that and kind of talk about it with each other and maybe do some call-ins after.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a great idea. We could even maybe do so we occasionally do movie nights in my locals, but yeah, it's something definitely to think about. And I definitely I wrote it down. I promise like writing something down for me is a big step. And so if I wrote it down, it's like I'm gonna do it.
all right, awesome. And I'm going to try and get back into your locals. I was in
Yeah.
it a few months ago and somehow I got out of it. So I'm going to try and get back in. Since the last guy you had on gave an idea of some things, I wanted to give my own kind of idea how we could, I guess, somewhat empower the worker and satiate a lot of these socialist issues we're seeing. And I think going employee owned with a lot of companies could be beneficial, even up to like 45%, because that would be enough for people to, a lot of the companies listen to their employees, um, and probably get more, um, how do I put it? It would empower a lot of the more mainstream, practical thinking employees to stand up against a lot of this woke culture and downright racist culture that's starting to crop up.
I think it's an interesting idea. I do also wonder, however, if it would disincentivize people from starting businesses.
Um,
And because I don't want to disincentivize entrepreneurship.
I don't want to hijack your show. I've had this idea kind of for probably 2-3 years now,
Mhm.
and I've actually kind of looked at, and don't hate me for saying this, but like the Chinese model. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
until
You're not a
they hit.
Marxist, are you?
No, no, far from it. I love capitalism, but I do like how they do things as far as the Communist Party being involved with the company.
Mhm.
At least until recently, unless something changed, it was unless if you were below 1,000 employees, you didn't really have the Communist Party involved too heavily. You didn't have the councils or any of that in your business, and I think that could really keep the incentivization. That's a word even. Uh, to start your own company, entrepreneurs don't feel like they're being railroaded into just giving their business away. And yeah, they will always have it in the back of their mind once they reach a certain point or as they go along, sell their shares to their employees, give them a base, give them a voice, but they're still able to retain enough of the company that they're making back their money, they're making their profit that they deserve and have earned. But in the grand scheme of things, everybody ultimately comes out happy at the other end of it.
Well, why don't we do this, Sequitur? So if you join my locals, we do 2 Zoom calls every single week. So we do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And as a supporter, you get to come to one of the calls, and maybe you could pitch the idea to the group and make your case.
That'd be awesome. I'm going to get
Yeah.
back into your locals then.
Awesome. Well, I'll look forward to that and look forward to having that discussion. And maybe so I do have a debate club in my locals, and maybe we can even find someone to take the contrary side, and you guys can hash it out.
Ooh, I love debates.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you in locals.
Awesome. I'll see you there. And before I go, I just wanted to say Dr. K 2024.
Thank you. I got to make a t-shirt now and everything. Thank you, Sequitur. Have a great rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right. We've got 3 call-ins right now. I keep leaving the call-in link up because I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful that I'm giving someone as many opportunities as they would like to join the stream and man up. But for right now, we're going to talk to Morgan. Morgan, welcome to the stream.
Hi, Carlin. Testing. Can you hear me?
You're good, Morgan. What's up?
Hi. So basically, I wanted to start off by saying thank you for speaking out against, I definitely see that there's, a growing movement for people to be, pro-white in, a racist sense. I never, ever heard people be like that before. But, today on one of Timcast's, on his comment section, someone was, arguing with me in the comment section using, equating, America to, let me read some of this. They basically said, minorities leech off of our overly generous welfare system funded by our white, in parentheses, hard-earned tax dollars. And it's what the heck? What the heck? This is super toxic. This is that logic is un-American. That's really toxic. And thank you for calling this out, because people are becoming thinking that that's okay or a healthy mindset, and that is super toxic. And America is supposed to be a place where we're all where we come together and where we can we're a great melting pot where we love each other, and just regardless of someone's race or ethnic background, we're all still American. And that's really what it's awesome. So I really thank you I just want to say thank you so much for addressing this and calling out the people who are basically trying to ruin America in a sense, the people who are just going the clear opposite direction towards way back to the 60s or something. Thank you for calling that out.
You're welcome. And I think it needs to be called out. And I think one of the reasons I put so many clips in that article is people need to see. It's not enough to say this is going on because they don't believe it until you see the clips, and then you're like, holy crap, these people are insane.
Yeah, it's awful. It's
yeah. No, so I'm happy to call it out. I think that it needs to be called out, and I'm really grateful for the reception the article has received today, because I've been speaking about this issue since June, and I took a metric F ton of crap for speaking about it back in June. But now people see.
But it's thank you for speaking out then, because it's I didn't used to see that, but it's slowly creeping up. It's becoming more common and more prevalent, and that's terrifying.
It is, but you know what? There are more good people out there than there are bad. This is not a big group of people. It's not tiny. It's not 1 and 2, but it's not giant either. And this is, if people know about it, and my hope with this is that enough people will actually be able to identify it and be able to say, no, this does not represent us. No.
So yeah, I wanted to say thank you for all the work that you are doing towards actual basically towards equality, and not pro one or pro the other. We don't want this toxicity.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Morgan. Is there anything else for today?
I'd also like to say thank you for supporting the Libertarian Party. They're awesome.
Yay! I love the Libertarians. Not all the Libertarians. Not the Libertarians that kicked Karen Ann Harlos off the LNC. I don't like those Libertarians, but I do like the Mises Caucus.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. You too, Morgan. I'll talk soon. Yeah, that comment on Tim's channel is Cassandra's influence. That's Cassandra's influence. Maybe Tim, now that all this is documented, maybe Tim, and you guys can fucking clip this, maybe Tim Pool would now like to put an editorial policy in place where people don't call things anti-white. I think that would be who in the chat would like Tim Pool to create an editorial policy against calling things anti-white? You can call it anything else, Tim. I don't give a fuck. Call it anything else. I don't care. Just don't use this term. Just an editorial policy. That's all I want. That's it. Really simple. You own the company. You're the man. You're the big man in charge. Make goddamn editorial policy. All right, moving on. We have Becky, we have Kevin, and we still have room. We still have room for additional people that might want to call in. But right now we're going to go to Becky. Hi, Becky. Welcome to the stream.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not someone who ever comments on anything. I'm always the lurker. I'm like the very antisocial person, but like, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate what you're doing, and I've watched a lot of your videos off and on. I don't tend to watch a lot of things, like actually watching them. I listen to a lot of stuff while I'm at work, and I really like appreciate what you're doing, calling out these people, and like this is not okay. Like, I always thought that this whole idea was something that people did when they were like just being like stupid kids and trying to be like contrarian or something. It's like, this is not something that anyone should approve of ever. Like, why? This makes no sense. Like, and I joined the walk away because of you.
Oh, thank you.
I always thought that I had to kind of be leftist because I was like LGBT and all that, and I really appreciated like the stance you took, and like you're being willing to like stand up and, you know, call out when people are being, you know, stupid and all this unreasonable stuff that's like
it seems like walkaway needs to be now like make politics not insane again. Like, it's funny. So we were at the walkaway team was like at a house in Florida for election night, and we had to go grocery shopping and everything. And we were actually talking about how like walkaway should just be walking away from extremism. I don't know what Brandon's planning on doing with it, but I think walkaway should just be walk away from extremism.
Right. It's like, why does it have to be like, it's just crazy, and I don't understand why these people have to be so like hateful. Like, there's so much hate, and it's like, why? That doesn't help anyone. Like,
I think it's because they're stewing in their own hate and they're feeding into each other. It's kind of like with the woke left, right? The woke left, they feed each other. They feed each other's anger and outrage addictions all day. I think it's exactly the same thing here. And I really do wish, I genuinely do wish that the people involved in this movement would see that there's so many better ways than this.
Yeah.
They don't need to follow a cult leader to have self-esteem.
The all the cults and all these people, it's so insane to me that like they're you know willing to like go into like this extreme, you know, like ideologies and like all this nonsense. It's just very frustrating and very, very helpful to have someone willing to like stand up and willing to like say like, this is not okay. Like, I don't believe that anyone's better than anyone else. I believe that we are, you know, strong for ourselves, like not because of the color of our skin, not because of anything. Like, it's like, that's not what's important.
Yeah.
That's never been what's important.
No, and I have a big mouth, so I guess I'm good at speaking up. But I'm happy to do it, you know, and I appreciate everyone that supports the work I'm doing because you guys make it possible for me to do it. All right, Becky, anything else for tonight?
No, that's it.
Thanks so much for joining the stream. You did a great job. You didn't seem nervous at all. But thanks for calling in, and maybe we'll see you in the future.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good one. Cool. All right, we've got Kevin, and then we're gonna maybe round it out tonight with Nick H. I'm still leaving the link up, Jason. I know you're watching. Oh, either you or one of your minions are watching. Probably several of your minions. Jason's minions, can you tell Jason that he is wanted on Carlin's channel, please? And then all he has to do is click the link at the top of the chat on the YouTube channel. That's all he has to do. Super simple. Kevin, welcome to the stream. What's up?
Hey, Carlin. How you doing? Good evening.
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm. First of all, it's a pleasure to speak to you. I've, like many
Thank
other
you.
people, I've found you over the last year or so, and people have made their own stripe in the online, discussion of social theories and everything like that. I was the guy that actually clued you in last week. That was on. You were on the call. That was like a long call with several other ladies on the call, and about the Westbury Port.
Yeah.
That was me.
Right on. Thank you,
So I'm
Kevin.
that
Tell us more
guy.
about what's been going on there.
Oh, that was interesting. So it was, first of all, you did say I had to attend it, but I didn't get in touch with you because I was going to. I just been working a lot lately. I work in banking,
Okay.
highly educated, double degree, everything like that. Highly versed in all the doing the work, of all this kind of stuff. But yeah, actually, I was on it. I found it just by searching. And actually, before I get into that real quick, I want to state to other people that are listening right now, the war of this identitarian stuff really, starting with what happened in Evergreen College, going across the colleges through, white fragility, through Robin DiAngelo, and then going to the anti-racist crowd. So it's kind of morphed since then, right? I think it's kind of been this rolling, slow thing that, well, slow, it's actually picked up speed. Where it's actually went to was with last year was to Zoom. So I've been on over probably 70 calls with every group, maybe even more than that, from Australia to Canada, United States, every, colleges, religious organizations, churches, libraries, that all have adopted these trainings, and either it's all the stuff that you sit there and watch on a Friday with a drink in your
Yeah.
hand. I've been on those. I can't believe I haven't showed up on one of them because I've been on so many of these. And at first it was me just listening, and then I started interacting more, and I've probably been booted off of. I've probably been kicked off of more calls than probably more people have been on calls in the last year. And that's the guy.
Isn't it fun to go in the chats? Because I used to do this before I was broadcasting on the internet. I would go in the chat and be like subversive during the live stream or during the webinar or whatever.
Oh, I get straight. I mean, now I just get into straight questions with people, and like from every. I mean, if I had a greatest hits of my getting kicked off for, incidents, you'd sit there and you. I mean, I wish I had it so I can give it to you. You would have probably a 3-hour show on it, and that's not a lie. And what happened last, the Westbury Port Library, and it was a library that hosted Kate. Your
Kate
infamous
Slater.
Kate Slater, I know her well. I've watched all her videos on YouTube. I'm very versed in what she does. She's from Maine. She's a self-admitted grown up in a very white state. And what you have is the ultra white states are the people who come back with the most white guilt that drives them to try to prove that they are not the racist that they claim everybody else is. So what they do is it's why do you think Portland, Maine, Vermont, that all the she's from Maine. It's always the people who actually grow up less around people of color that are the
Always.
most extreme, because Robin DiAngelo went and said, this book that I'm writing is dedicated to the white progressive left. She basically stuck a pitchfork in their back and said, you know what? You guys claim to be progressive, but you're not doing enough for my feminist extreme view.
Well, if she doesn't convince the white progressives that they're racist, who would buy her stuff in her workshops?
Well, she actually she tries to convince everybody else that they are, when it's in fact she just realizing in her own head what she has actually. So what she does is project out to everybody else what she actually thinks. And then she tries to convince everybody else that they are. So it's like,
Yep.
it's a bait and switch. It's like, well, I had these ideas about black people, and guess what? You are too. So everybody buys it just because they're white. They look at their skin and they're like, yeah, it must be right. But anyway, I wanted to actually get back to the point. Like Kate Slater, I was on that call, and I actually called the library yesterday. I had a discussion with the head of the library, and they paid her for that. They paid her, yeah.
Oh, I
like,
bet they did.
yeah, I said, you guys. I had a civil discussion with the head of the librarian, and I said, do you understand the views that she holds? I'm like, I'm not up for holding anybody accountable in free speech in a public square out in public, because that's what we should do, right? But if you're going to do it in a in a city entity, like as far as a public library, then you have to be accountable for what you actually promote or actually have. And I said, the claims that she has are such. And I labeled them out, and then she ended up saying that they did ended up compensating her for her time. And I said, you compensated her to make people believe that they're all racist because they're white. And I'm like, just think of the insanity of that claim. And I'm like, and think about it. I'm like, you put money in her pockets for that.
And
And,
libraries do not have big budgets. Libraries can't be affording to throw money away like that.
right. I mean, corporations do, like the corporations do and stuff like that. And I actually need to speak to you on another outside of this. I really do, because my corporation started all the stuff that we talked about, last year at the CRT training. I had my legal team, and I'm in a very big banking industry. I'm not going to say which, corporation I'm with, but they had their legal team talking about it. The CEO, I went all the way up, and this is a very big bank. They did the exact same. It came from the diversity inclusion team. I have all the documents. They donated money to BLM to fund they funded a protest. They gave money to BLM protesters that were marked from their business group that was inside the diversity inclusion team. I actually have the Excel that actually shows that they're donating money to that. And then I showed to them that I had discussions all the way up to the senior management, even with the head of diversity inclusion. Now, this is big news. I mean, I threatened lawsuits with them. They came back. We had many discussions on it. They had CEOs, CFO, everybody was in on this, the legal team. So I don't want to get into I could talk to you offline, but that was a brief thing. As far as a warrior in this kind of who's actually out there, pushing back and actually giving logic to these guys, these identitarian idiots, that or just want everybody to be judged by skin color. I've done it. I've done that and more. And I'm not here to brag or anything like that, but I'm just telling you, there are people like me out there that you don't know about maybe until now or last week that are actually involved in this. And just, that Westbury, that they have 3 more trainings that are coming up. So I would suggest that everybody who is listening to this, if you want to listen to Kate Slater, who's out of her mind on how she believes that all this stuff, go to Westbury Port, which is in Massachusetts. It's a library. They have a training coming up in the next 3 weeks. I think it's every either Wednesday or Thursday. You can sign up for it. This will probably get back to them somehow. I don't know. Hopefully it won't. And we can just have people go in there and listen to her because it's open to the public. And you can decide for yourself. But me and you actually know exactly what her views are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Carl, I really agree with you, on what we're doing. And to be honest with you, at the end, I was just on a call an hour ago. That was from Cal State. That was with anti-Asian hate groups that we were talking about, who's responsible for all the Asian hate. And as I said, I was on the call. I said, as a conservative, I want to dispel the myth that it's conservatives that are doing this stuff, because we actually look at people's right in the United States as a citizen, and we uphold everybody's right to actually exist as a legal citizen. And I'm like, I just want to say that. And all the conservatives I know many Asian people. And we started talking about facts as far as how much Asians earn and everything like that. And then the person says, well, you have to break it down by each region. I said, well, why isn't that applied to white people when you say white fragility or white, you say, the liberal left says, white privilege. And I said, well, why don't they ever talk about the section there between the different white, immigrants from different areas that doesn't get discussed? And I got kicked off the call. Thank you very much for that.
Well, Kevin, I would definitely like to connect with you. So make sure you get in touch with me on my website, drcarlin.com. Just go to the contact form, say, this is Kevin, email me here, and I will get right in touch with you. I'd love to talk to you about some stuff. Not the least of which is I hope you can suggest a training we watch for happy hour if you know a really crazy one.
Oh my God. I mean, which choose from the ones that I've been on. I've been on ones with rabbis. I mean, and I'll end up with this. I don't want to take up all your time and everything, because I know you've been a lot here. What is actually, and the idea of a cult or a religious aspect where Ibram Kendi or Rob D'Angelo is seen as some kind of deity who's handing down law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, white people have this inherent, flaw in them somehow that's like original sin, right? It's highly connected, and the mindset really goes to people in religious circles because that ties very well with that kind of theory, right? It kind of goes hand in hand. And I got to say, I've been on probably more than, churches, maybe 30 calls over the last 6 months, different stripes, Lutheran, Christian, all different ones. And they all have the anti-racist. We're doing our church is now anti-racist. I mean, I'm not kidding you.
Oh, I know. The church stuff is bad. It's bad.
Oh, yeah. Because then it's posed as a religious thing when it's not.
Yep.
it's snuffed inside of, it's like stuck neatly in the back of your Bible. It's the last page. But hey, the Bible's good, right? So they stick the Bible in your pocket and you accept it. But this is being woven into all the stuff, and then they just get sold on the idea. I mean, it's very dangerous thoughts. And, to be honest with you, like, with COVID and everybody shut down, it was a way to distract people. Get online, get on Zoom calls and have these discussions. And for anybody else, you can search Facebook through like the upper bar and you just type in any word and then look for events and you could find those in there and they're all over the place. I mean, there's been so many, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I don't want to take up your whole night. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I'll get in touch with you and I definitely like to talk to you offline. I know you're very, very busy with all your time and stuff.
No, we can definitely talk offline, Kevin. I would love to talk to you. Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Thanks,
All
Carlin.
right. Thank you. Have a good one. All right, we've got Kevin and we've got Schwan, and sadly I've taken the link down because I got stuff to do tonight. I do want to say that Catalyst says, don't just mount that like button, murder that like button, Mortal Kombat style. And I like that because I just watched the new Mortal Kombat movie the other day, and I actually really enjoyed it. I actually I loved the first one, even though the first the original like Mortal Kombat movie, and though it's like so cheesy, and I understand it's so cheesy, but it's a movie of my childhood. It's a movie of my teenage years. I wasn't exactly like a child, but like it was a movie of my teenage years. I love it. I love the soundtrack of it. And I thought I was going to hate the new like remake of Mortal Kombat, and I did not hate it. It did not suck. And they paid homage to the original in the soundtrack at the end. And so murder that like button for Catalyst, Mortal Kombat style. Brittany says, I was floored reading this. You claim to have proof, but I wasn't expecting what I read. It was shocking, and I hope Tucker and others take note and share. Thank you, Brittany. I hope so as well. All right, we've got Nick H. and Schwan. Nick H., welcome to the stream.
Hey, Miss Carly, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good, Nick.
Okay, so I'm going to address Jason directly. You needle-nosed dickhead who couldn't find the hole. You had two hands in the map. You don't even have the effing balls to come on here to confront Miss Carlin when she directly has been in your live feed listening. I know, I saw it myself, as well did a whole bunch of other people. I sat there while your acolytes, your cult members, whatever the hell you want to call them at this point, are sitting there responding to me saying the West is for white people. No, America, referring to America and all that, America is for free people, my countrymen, who I took an oath to defend their rights. And sadly, I took an oath to defend their rights, which means I will defend your right to speak your racist, abhorrent garbage and all that. But I'll never support it. Never. I'll turn my back. If someone tries to forcefully censor you, yes, I will come to your defense so you can speak it. But I will fight against your nonsense with my speech and the speech of everybody else here and all that. I had to get a small dick token there because
you had to. It's part of the rules of the channel. No, I mean, absolutely. Listen, I believe that Jason and his cronies should be able to say whatever they want to say. I believe in free speech. I don't believe that their free speech is inhibited by me banning them on my channel. But I did very nicely invite them on, and then none of them chose to join me. But I do believe they should be able to say what they want to say. But part of free speech is that we have the ability to say, you are not welcome here. We do not wish to associate with you. Get the F out of our anti-CRT movement.
I definitely agree. So, to continue on, when we were seeing his other little buddies and all that, talking all that, they're like mentioning Chris Rufo and all that. You were even mentioning you and all that. I'm like, and I'm sitting here going, what about me? Where's my name on that list? I mean, I'm on so many people's list right now who hate me. What's one more list?
You know, it's funny though, because in their chat, I think he might have even done it, because I know you went in their chat when we were on the live stream on Friday, I think, right?
Yes,
so they actually, I believe someone told me, I didn't hear it directly, but someone told me that he called you a POS.
Okay, you call me wherever you want, just don't call me.
So that's what Jason thinks of you, and you're a person that you defended this country, you served in the military, you are a good guy, and.
Hey, I've been called every name in the book. Piece of POS is not even on the top 10 in my life and all. So I will end it on the good thing is they were talking about tomboys and all that when you were on Deb's channel, all that. My wife grew up a tomboy and all that. Trust me, sexiest woman alive in the world. and all that. So, and to this day, she still likes to wear baggy clothes and all that. And trust me, 2 kids later, it is what it is. But I mean, still love her for who she is. So, like I said, as far as all this racist stuff, I said my kids, I will raise them to be like, hey, you know what? You treat people by the way how they act, not by the way they look.
Exactly.
Granted, I comment on about Martin Luther King. I mean, there's been a lot of studies that maybe he was a communist, but you know what? He was right though. Judge people on the basis of their content, their character, not the color of their skin.
Yeah.
So the fact that he brought us like, well, you're gonna quote MLK, but not in discredit his comments. Like, no, I mean, it was a good comment. That's what he's known for. Not many people know that he probably had, collectivist ideas. I said, and that whole collectivist over individual, it's like, screw that. That's how you get authoritarianism. That's how people like this guy will be like, you know what, for the good of the group, we're going to have to get rid of you.
Yeah.
And that's what always delves into. And like I said, and I tell him when he starts saying hell, I'm like, hey, just remember, Hitler comes right after that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
exactly.
I said, I waited till the end because I wanted other people to get in because I always talk to on locals and all that. So I'm not a greedy person.
No, you're definitely not. You're a great guy, Nick. I so appreciate you being in my community, and I just you have such a good heart. You really do. You have the best heart in the world, and I'm so glad we've met.
Well, I've talked about my previous experience. That's not how I feel about myself. I won't mention on here because I'm not going to get you banned on YouTube. But
no, but you have a really big heart. You do.
I try my best. Make up for a lot of things. Anyway, so good to see everybody here and all that. Like I said, awesome article. And tell Karen, man up. Who cares if he's sick and all that? Get his ass up. Oh my,
he's really sick. It's like 1 a.m. where he's at. But no, we'll get Kieran on our future stream. I promise.
Good guy. All right. Anyways, I'll talk to you later, Miss Carlin.
All right. Have a good one, Nick.
All right.
All right. We've got one more left, Schwan. We're gonna give it a second try. Welcome to the stream.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's my first time using this app thing. I didn't technical difficulties.
That's okay. It happens, my friend. What do you want to talk about?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate your show and everything you do, and it's nice hearing a centrist kind of view on things. And because I dropped Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro as my go-to videos.
Okay.
To listen to you, and I don't know if you're allowed to talk about the V word.
Well, we can talk about it. I think it's okay to talk about it. I can't give any recommendations or medical advice.
Yeah, just didn't want to get you banned or anything.
Yeah.
So my company, my boss said that they're thinking about going through with the mandate, and pretty much all of our truck drivers that I work with, they all said that they're going to quit if he does.
You work at a truck driving company and they want to mandate the vaccine. Are they insane? That's not going to work out well.
Yeah, he said if it drops, because we only have 20 drivers, but if it drops to 20, then he's going to go through with it. And basically all the truck drivers said all at the same time they're going to quit if he does.
I think that, you know what? I think that is exactly the right move. And there's not going to be nothing that they could do if everyone bands together. Like, what are they going to do? Where are they going to hire 20 truck drivers overnight?
Yeah, the company would definitely go under if they did that.
And why does he even care anyway? You guys are driving trucks.
Well, they also said that it might be on the medical card, because we have to get a medical card for our CDLs. It might be a requirement.
Really?
Yeah.
It might be a requirement to get a CDL license.
Yeah, your medical card that you have to get like every 2 years. You have to get approved through medical to make sure that you're okay to be driving.
Oh, I'm sure that's going to go over real well. Who regulates that?
DOT.
Oh,
mostly.
My God. Pete Buttigieg, in other words. It always comes back to Pete Buttigieg. No, that sucks. But you guys, stand strong. Stand strong, stand together. And when it's like a critical mass like that, there's really we're going to have a problem if the truck drivers rebel. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, my wife's the RN, so she makes good money, so I'm good to stay home if I have to.
Yeah. I bet she's doing, and she hasn't been mandated to get it yet, or?
One of the hospitals in our area has, and they lost like 10 nurses overnight.
Wow.
But her hospital said no so far.
Good. You know, my fingers are crossed that people start suing. I don't know why people aren't suing already. I don't know why there's not a team of lawyers that is just like looking for the very best cases to challenge all of this. I don't understand it. People need to start suing because it takes a while to work through the system, and this is just insane. The whole thing is insane to me.
Yeah. And I keep missing your Tuesday show, but I keep thinking of things to ask for your psychic readings, but I keep forgetting about the show.
Oh no. Well, maybe you'll set an alarm on your phone and you'll join us this week.
Yeah.
All right, Sean.
That was pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you got the technology to work. Now you know how to do it. It's all set up.
Yeah.
Thank you for being my last call into the night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's all she wrote for this evening. Now, I do want to remind you that all the work you saw today on this call took several weeks to put together and working hours and hours and hours and hours a day. There were days that Kieran here, because he's in the UK, so he's like 5 hours ahead of me, and I would like wake up and I like have a message saying, "Get up, it's time to do white supremacy." And we'd watch white supremacy videos like all day. And we talk about them, and then we'd find more ways. The amount of stuff that we've watched is crazy. But I do want everyone to know Kieran was a critical aspect of this. I wish he was here to brag on himself a little bit, which of course he would never do. But please join Kieran's locals community, kieranwhite.locals.com. And if you want to support him by becoming a member of his locals, it's $5 a month. He did a whole review of a White Lives Matter manual. So if you want to see the really crazy stuff, Kieran's got it in his community right now, only for supporters. $5 a month. And then, of course, please join my locals community. While you're there, you can subscribe for $5 a month. You can subscribe for $50 a year, or you can make a one-time gift. And we do Zoom calls every Tuesday and Thursday. We do book club. We do debate club. We do lots of stuff. My locals people knew about all this before everyone else. You guys get advance notice on things. But that's all I have for today. The next locals meeting is at noon tomorrow. So if you get into my locals as a supporter by noon tomorrow, you'll be able to come to our Zoom call then. And I guess that's all she wrote for right now. If I don't stream tomorrow, I will see you guys on Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll be watching a crazy training. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Have a good one, guys. Bye.